Good morning, everybody. Welcome to City Hall, welcome to Council Chambers, and welcome to a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Friday, March 26th, 2004. The City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Meetings are open to the public, and we do invite you to join us. For members of the public unable to attend council meetings, we can be viewed live on your cable station, Channel 35. We can also be viewed live via webcast from the city's homepage or heard via council phone. Members of the council, members of the public, it is 10:05 a.m. We have 9 members present, 1 shy of a quorum, but this being Friday, as is customary, we have a number of special presentations and introductions scheduled. I'd like to begin today's meeting by recognizing Councilmember Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. As we ask Mr. John Mills to join us, and we settle down a little bit here. Which one is this? Okay, why don't you hold that?
Make me number one.
Yes. Members of the council, I have a very special gentleman here today with us. I'd like to recognize. With us today is Mr. John Mills. John has been a resident of Los Angeles all his life and has lived in the Westlake area for 20 years. He was actively recruited by then Councilmember Gloria Molina as a grassroots organizer with the More Advocates for Safe Homes, MASH, a program she put together. And he has been one of the most steadfast participants. His commitment towards community-based policing now is legendary in the community. Over the years, John has worked with the LA Police Department, Rampart Division on public safety issues and the cleaning up of MacArthur Park. He's also been very active with the annual National Night Out program. John Mills continues to be one of the most well-known and well-respected leaders Westlake community and has continued to organize local residents to work towards self-empowerment. John has been on the Police Advisory Board for 15 years, where he continues to advocate for more residents and community involvement and better cooperation between the neighborhoods and police officials. And the reason that we are bringing John in today is because this past Wednesday, March 24th, John celebrated his 80th birthday. Let's give a round of applause, folks. He's 80 years young. I can tell you in my work with Mr. Mills, he's not the kind of person just goes to meetings and just engages verbally. He's the kind of guy that will go out there and pick up that abandoned sofa or that refrigerator. He'll tell me, I went ahead and I moved this on this area over here. I'll call in bulky items, and he'll do it himself. He'll actually go out in the street and clean up. And even though there are some pretty savory characters out there on those streets in Westlake, he is willing to take that role in letting them know that there are children here, there are families here, let's keep the sidewalks clean. And he has inspired many, many volunteers continue to do the same kind of work. For that reason, I want to acknowledge him, not only for his 80th birthday, but for the fact that for so many years, he's been a cornerstone for many of the individuals in that area. And I wanted to recognize and declare, along with my colleagues, John Mills Day, and congratulate a true gentleman who relentlessly fought for the betterment of his community and effectively changed the overall quality of life in Council District 1. Thank you, Mr. Mills, for everything you've done. It's signed by all our colleagues, the mayor, and our city attorney, Rocky Delgadillo, and city controller, Laura Chick. Thank you so much.
Mr. Labange.
Get that good picture there. Thank you, Mr. Reyes. John Mills, you're an angel in the City of Angels. It's good to see you. I worked with you for years. And Ed, he is one of the great constituents of any district in this city and in this country. He's a real special man. Happy birthday, John.
Thank you,
Congratulations on your day.
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. I've been in this chamber many times, but the last time I was up at this podium was when Gloria Molina was the chairperson here. the council person, I should say. And it's a real thrill to be back and to be amongst friends. Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much, Ian. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Villaraigosa, Whiteside, Padilla. 12 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The council is now officially in session. I believe Ms. Perry also has a presentation this morning. Ms. Perry, are we ready? They're not here? Okay. Mr. Zine for a quick introduction? You have an introduction separate and apart from that? No? Okay. Colleagues, if there's no objection, what I'd like to do at this point is go through today's agenda and dispense with consent items quickly, and then return for our annual Pioneer Woman of the Year Awards ceremony. So, Mr. Clerk, first order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Zine moves, Mr. Villaraigosa seconds,
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
and Mr. Labange moves, and Mr. Cardenas seconds.
On the regular agenda, item 1 is a public convenience or necessity item in Council District 11. Recommendation is to grant the application. A motion is required.
Okay, Ms. Mizikowski moves, and let me recognize there's no request from members of the public to address the council on this item. Public hearing is open, public hearing is closed. Members wishing to call item number 1 special? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 2 is a public convenience or necessity item in Council District 9. The recommendation is to grant the application. A motion is required.
Ms. Perry, do we have a motion on item number 2? I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on item number 2. Public hearing is open, public hearing is closed, and seeing no motion at this point, let's call this item special. Next item, please.
Item 3 is also a public convenience and necessity item in Council District 6. The recommendation is to deny the application. A motion is required.
Okay, I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on item number 3. Public hearing is open, public hearing is closed. Do we have a motion on item number 3?
Item 3. Move.
Move to approve by Councilmember Cardenas. Members request to call this item special. Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Item 3 is approved. Next item, please.
Items 4 through 14 are items for which public hearings have been held. On items 9 and 10, public hearings were held in the Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee, and those reports have been distributed to all members.
Items 4 through 14 now before us. Public hearings have been held in committees. A motion from the floor would be required to reopen the public hearing, and seeing no such motion, do we have requests for specials, beginning with Mr. Reyes?
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to continue April's item 14 to April 16, please.
Members request to continue item 14. Seeing no objection, item 14 is continued. Mr. Parks.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to have number 11 special. We have a technical amendment that's being prepared.
Okay, 11 called special by Mr. Parks. Any other specials? Any other specials? Seeing none on items 4 through 14, with the exceptions of 11 and 14, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved. Mr. Labange.
Number 12, please.
Forthwith on item number 12. Next items.
Item 15 is a commission appointment. Do you wish to hold this on the desk?
Yes, let's hold item 15 on the desk, and we'll take this item up after presentations and before the other items called special. Go ahead.
Items 16 through 34 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
And I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on items 16 through 34. Public hearings are open and closed and without objection before the City Council today. Request for specials, Mr. Villaraigosa.
Item 31.
31 call special by Mr. Villaraigosa. Mr. Smith.
Number 23.
23 call special by Mr. Smith. Mr. Parks. Mr. Labange.
As requested, Mr. Garcetti, continue 24 1 week.
Okay, members request to continue item 24 1 week. That would be April 2nd as a new hearing date. Seeing no objection, item 24 is continued. Any other requests for specials? Seeing none on Ms. Perry?
I wanted to make a motion to move item 2
Okay, we'll get to that after we dispense with these items. Colleagues, we have items 16 through 34, with the exceptions of 23, 24, and 31. Mr. Clerk? Before we open the roll, Ms. Han? Okay, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 eyes.
Those are approved. And coming back to item number 2, Ms. Perry, do you have a motion on item number 2?
Just to make a motion to approve.
Okay. Unless there's any further discussion, and I see none. On item number 2, Mr. Labange, let's open the roll on item number 2, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 eyes.
That is approved. Mr. Labange.
30-second introduction. Please welcome Ms. Kay Kim from our 4th District Wilshire Center area. She's relocating back to Seoul, Korea, but she's been the wonderful mother to young G. Kim on my staff. Give her a big hand. God bless Kay Kim. Thank you.
Okay, coming back to presentations at this point in time. Ms. Perry, are we ready with your other presentation? We have presentations by Ms. Perry and Mr. Ludlow today, and then we will commence with the Pioneer Woman of the Year Awards.
Yes.
Okay.
Please step right in.
Mr. Rocky? Ariki. Ariki? Ariki? Mr. Aramaki? My name's Oyama. Oyama, thank you. I can't read his writing. Oyama. I'm joined here by Mr. Ellis Stanley, Mr. Ariki, Mr. Aramaki, and Mr. Oyama. April is Emergency Preparedness Month in the city of Los Angeles. And I'm here to welcome, along with Mr. Stanley, a delegation from Yokohama, Japan. The Emergency Preparedness Department has worked for several years with the city of Yokohama on the issues related to emergency preparedness. It is through collaborative efforts with other cities that we can continue to improve our own preparedness efforts. And I wanted to welcome them here today and thank them for an ongoing partnership and a continuing collaboration. And I'd like to ask Mr. Stanley to say a few words.
Thank you, Councilwoman Perry. You are absolutely correct. When we talk about global preparedness, we look at communities that have similar threats to us, and Yokohama is a community with a large port like us. They have earthquakes, etc. So it's really important that we get together and talk about creative solutions to disasters. And we were there a few years ago, and now they are here to continue that collaboration. And I'm glad to be able to present them to you this morning and look at our continued collaboration and cooperation with our partners in preparedness. And we welcome them to the city of Los Angeles. You want to say something on behalf of the delegation?
On behalf of the delegates, we will say thank you to City of Los Angeles and also to the Emergency Preparedness Division. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to go in the back and take some pictures. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Mr. Ludlow, for our next presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, it's a real pleasure for me to introduce somebody who needs no introduction. He's been heading up the Kingdom Day Parade here in Los Angeles for 25 years. He is the Honorable Larry Grant, and we'd like to have him come forward, and he wants to make a couple of presentations. Please welcome the founder and creator of the best King Parade in the country, Larry Grant.
Mr. President and members of the council, I'll try to be as brief as possible. First of all, I'd like to present some awards to my Grand Marshal for this year, in the year 2004, Councilman Martin Ludlow. These are nice pictures that I think he'll make souvenirs of them and put them in his office, riding his horse. This is the newspaper. And this is a special award that we're giving to him as a participant, along with the queen of the parade and my great-grandson.
Oh, that's great, that's great.
Okay, get this one. Here you go. There you go. Also, since he was the Grand Marshal of the parade, I've providing him with a poster that he can keep for the rest of his life.
Thank you, Larry.
There you go. Now, can we move right on? I have another award to a very special gentleman in my heart, and he is the councilman of the great 8th District. Would you please come up, Councilman Parks? Bernard Parks. Bernard Parks. How are you, Councilman? Good morning, sir. I have a special presentation for you also, and this is where you were at our award ceremony, and this is a certificate of appreciation for you for doing such a great job in the great 8th District.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Good, thank you.
Okay, we have also certificates for each of the council persons who participated. Grandmaster Baliwa? Bali? Hurry up. The first certificate is for the Honorable Mayor, James K. Hahn. I don't know if he's here, but I think he has a representative here. Eric, are you here? Eric Brown? Oh, Janice, could you accept this? Janice, could you accept this for your brother? Oh, no, I want to, you can come on in, but I'll get Janice to come up here also. Both of you can.
This was for the council president.
This is a certificate of appreciation presented to Mayor James K. Hahn, City of Los Angeles. Mayor Hahn, in recognition of your participation and support of the annual Kingdom Day Parade and celebration, is dated January 19, 2004, and is signed by Grandmaster Tong Suk Chun, the co-parade chairman, and myself, the founder and president, Larry Grant.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the mayor, I'm happy to receive this plaque, and I thought it was one of the best parades.
Thank you.
Every year they get better, but I thought this year was absolutely terrific. The crowd was great. It was huge. For some intersection, I think it was 30 or 40 deep, so it was a
Thank you.
great turnout, one of the best parades I can remember, really.
Thank you
So
very much.
Congratulations on a wonderful
Thank you.
parade.
While you're here, you might as well stay and you get your own.
Oh.
Give me a Councilwoman Hans, Janice Hans,
Oh, okay.
certificate. So you, since you're here, you get your own,
Hey,
okay?
thank you.
Let's present it to you, Janice.
Let's take a picture.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along, where's the council president? Councilman Alex Padilla, City of Los Angeles, District 7, and El Presidente. Ven para acá. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on, Grandmaster. Come on, Grandmaster.
That's all right. Get Alex in.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Very quickly, yes. Can I just call the names, and I'll have Grandmaster Chun present them to them as I call the names. Councilwoman Wendy Gruhl, District 2. Where are you? Right behind me.
Go ahead and call Tony.
Councilman Tony Cardenas, District 6. Councilwoman Jan Perry, District 9. Thank you, dear. Fine. Can we get, yes, come on, Councilman, come on.
Come on in here.
Jan, where is Jan Perry?
She's in the back.
Okay, all right.
Okay, can I, Ron, can I just have you put that on the, sorry, I'm gonna spill it on. Put on, yes, and stuff.
There we go.
Thank you.
And do you
Thanks,
have
Larry.
any more? Yes, there's two more. Two more. Hurry up. Two more. Councilman Eric Garcetti, District 13. And Councilman Antonio Villaraigosa, District 14. Hi, Eric, how are you? Good to see you, man. Right, right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is for you, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can I say thank you very much, Mr. President? Would you like to say something?
I said thank you for
Oh.
honoring this great young man.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that's it. Well, I don't know where Jan is. Did someone take care of Jan Perry's?
Mr. Labange?
I just want to thank the parade. I'm sorry I couldn't attend, but I want to know if I get a plaque. I watched it on Channel 4. It was beautiful. Beautiful photograph
Thank you.
telecast.
Next time we expect to see you
All
there,
right.
sir.
It's a beautiful parade.
Let's thank Larry Grant. Thank you very much for all of your work. Thank you, colleagues. If we could have one member from Jan Perry's office. Yes. Thank you. Mr. President, we'll be very quick. We thank you and we appreciate your indulgence. One second. We have a distinguished colleague here with us this morning. He's a member of the California State Senate, serves as chairman of the Senate Local Government Committee, also serves on the Transportation Committee for the California State Senate. He's the chair of the State Wellness Task Force for Healthy Kids and Physical Fitness. He's here today on hearings on transportation issues in the County of Los Angeles. He's a former council member in Antioch and is also a former member of the Board of Supervisors for Contra Costa County. And you all remember him as a great assembly member. Please welcome California State Senator Tom Torlakson.
Good morning, Mr. President, President Padilla, and council members. It's great to be back here. Thank you, Councilmember Ludlow, for that great introduction. And I just wanted to say, as the chair of local government, we're working on the legislation to get a measure, along with your measure, to protect your revenues, so you have the money to do all the good things that you need to do. And I have to commend you, Mr. President, and the council for being very visible in Sacramento. Your voice is needed, your presence is essential, and so we're there to work with you. Today we're having hearings on the transportation crisis, so I know Councilmember Ludlow and my good friend Antonio Villaraigosa, former speaker, and Mr. Cardenas, we're all working together. Tom, Janice, we're working together to try to also get you the resources we need, because the transportation system is collapsing, the roads are getting more raggedy every day, and it's hurting our economy, it's hurting our potential to get the jobs we need for our citizens in California and in Los Angeles. So again, a pleasure to be here. Look forward to continuing to work closely with you as we move forward in this critical budget year.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Cardenas?
I just wanted to let all the Angelinos know that Tom Torlakson, we served together in the State Assembly, and now he's a senator now. And he certainly is a voice not only for California but for local government. Tom's been chairing the local government caucus for many years now and currently is the chair. And what it's important to all of us here in the city of Los Angeles is to understand is people like Tom are fighting to make sure that we get our fair share of money, and it's really crucial and important. And I know, because I've been there, it's a tough fight, Tom, and I just want to personally thank you for fighting for our police officers and our firefighters and our senior food programs and all the kinds of things that, Tom, you know we do at local government and only we know how to do. The only way we're going to do it is if Sacramento doesn't take the money that really belongs back here locally. So thank you for keeping up that fight, Tom, and you have us here to help you do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Mr. Villaraigosa?
Yes, Mr. President, members, let me rise to welcome Senator Torlakson. I had an opportunity to spend some time with him last night, and I said, you know, Tommy, in my mind, when I think about the many people that I served with in the legislature, when I think about what term limits has done to reduce the institutional memory, and I think about those members who have been able to go beyond that and really make an impact in California and among our colleagues, you stand first in line among those individuals. And so it's a great honor for me as a new council member to welcome you as the man who played a role in your chairing the local government caucus. I can tell you that Ms. Cardenas is correct. He has been a voice, a former supervisor in the county, Contra Costa County, a longtime local government advocate, and now a great voice for all of us. So welcome to Los Angeles. Thank you for the great work that you do in this state.
Thank you, Antonio. It's an honor to be here. Thank you again.
Mr.
all.
Smith?
Just briefly, I want to add to the words of my colleagues. I know when we went to Sacramento last month, we had an opportunity to sit down and talk. And as I went through the building and we talked about local government concerns, everyone said, go see Torlakson because he's Mr. Local Government, and that's your reputation up there. And you've been a long-time fighter for all of us here at the local level, not just elected officials, but the people we all serve. And we owe you a great debt of gratitude. And I want to thank you for everything you've done up there. And more importantly, as we went through the building that day, and there's a lot of new people, new elected officials there, at the end of the day, everybody said that Tom guy was the nicest guy we had to talk with. He sat down and just chatted with us, very friendly and very, very receptive, and just a nice guy. So I want you to know, besides being Mr. Local Government, you're a nice guy too. Thank you so much.
And that's probably why he's as successful as he is. I just wanted to personally thank you as well, Senator. You've always been there, and particularly as we're moving forward with the League of California Cities ballot measure that this council has supported and is becoming increasingly involved in. I want to thank you for your support personally, and we're counting on your help to rattle that building a little bit between now and November. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, colleagues. Now, on behalf of the State Senate, he's brought a check here today. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's a couple months away. Anyway, thank you all.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our annual Pioneer Woman of the Year Awards presentation and ceremony. To help lead us in this annual recognition ceremony, let me call upon Councilmember Dennis Zine, who will be assisted by members of the staff, I believe, from Los Angeles' very own Commission on the Status of Women. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to all. This is a joyous occasion once a year when we are able to recognize pioneer women in the city of Los Angeles. And I thought it would be interesting for our audience here and at home to have an understanding of how this began. And we continue this throughout the years. The Pioneer Women Awards. March is National Women's History Month. It was originally created as a single week in 1970 by the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women in California as a way of highlighting the awareness about the contributions of women in American history. As this annual recognition became increasingly popular across our nation, the U.S. Congress passed a resolution officially establishing a National Women's History Week in 1980. In 1992, President Jimmy Carter issued a proclamation that carried a directive for what is now nationally and internationally recognized as Women's History Month. In the spirit of Women's History Month, the Los Angeles City Council, in conjunction with the Los Angeles City Commission on the Status of Women, honors women who have made outstanding contributions to the strength, vitality, and enrichment of Los Angeles. The Pioneer Women Awards was created in 1988 to recognize the accomplishments of women in the city of Los Angeles. Women chosen to receive the Pioneer Women Award must meet one or more of the following criteria. And I will add that this year's theme is Women Inspiring Hope and Possibility. Must live or work in the nominating council district, contribute to improving the community within the council district and or the city in the area of education, business, sports, arts, science, community health, or government. Contribute to improving the status of women in the city of Los Angeles. Participation or excellence in non-traditional fields. Women who have performed acts of courage and philanthropic endeavors. Each year, the Pioneer Women Awards are recognized during a reception and award ceremony to publicly acknowledge their outstanding contributions to their communities. We had a presentation which we will do now. Each council office will recognize a Pioneer Women in their specific districts, 1 through 15. Also, we had a breakfast on the 4th floor this morning where our Pioneer Women and their guests were treated to breakfast. I also want to, before I introduce the Pioneer Women from the 3rd District, Gloria Mogul, I want to bring up Paula Petrada, Executive Director, Commission on the Status of Women, for a few comments. Paula, please come forward.
Thank you so much, Council Member. And with me,
And Commission.
and Commission President Leslie Ortiz, and Veronica Hendricks, who really puts this together. And I just want to really echo what Councilmember Zine has said, the importance of Women's History Month. As you know, March 3rd, 1913, a band of women suffragists marched on Washington to protest the fact that half of Americans did not have the right to vote. We were able to follow in her footsteps, and in terms of recognizing those women and these women here today. As Councilmember Zine has said, this theme is Women Inspiring Hope and Possibility 2004. And that really celebrates the hope and sense of possibility that comes to our lives from the inspirational work of the women you will meet here today. And it's a personal pleasure for me because some of them I have worked with. Dr. Marjorie Browdy, worked together for many years in domestic violence, and certainly Sharon Davis, all the work that she has done, and may or may not remember that she chaired our Association of California Commissions for Women, came down from Sacramento and spent a lot of time with the many directors and commission presidents of our state commissions in Los Angeles. So this is the 16th year that we have joined with you, and we want to thank the council for giving us this opportunity, and we really want to applaud and thank and honor our 2004 pioneer women. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Commissioners. Also, let me mention that the Los Angeles City Commission on the Status of Women has a women's organization and service directory that's published and a wealth of information, and it can be obtained through the commission. I'd now like to call forward Gloria Mogul from my district. Gloria, if you'll please come forward, for the Pioneer Women from the 3rd Council District. And as we go around the horseshoe, we'll hear the activities of the different women being recognized this morning. Gloria exemplifies the extraordinary strength, resolve, and determination. Those are qualities that make her a Pioneer Woman in the 3rd District. Gloria was born in Rochester, New York, married her husband. Marlo, will you please stand? Where are you? Oh, he's taking pictures. All right, taking pictures. In 1986, together they had one child, Andrea Sarah Mogul. Gloria has been involved in community service since 1989. Believing the importance of education, she has established 2 perpetual scholarships at Taft High School in memory of her daughter, Andrea Sarah Mogul. She established a perpetual trophy award at Parkman Middle School in memory of her daughter, Andrea. Gloria has received numerous awards from the Woodland Hills Rotary, Los Angeles Board of Public Works, the Neighborhood Beautification Organization, the Woodland Hills Homeowners Organization, and now from the City of Los Angeles. Gloria was nominated for the Fernando Award, which is the highest recognition in the San Fernando Valley, in 2002. Gloria is also a member of the Woodland Hills Chamber of Commerce, the Woodland Hills Design Review Board, the Ventura Boulevard Improvement District. Gloria was the driving force that got trees planted in Warner Center area. For over 25 years, Gloria has patrolled the streets of Woodland Hills and Warner Center to report graffiti, trash, weeds, illegal signs. And this was before Councilman Zine's 3rd District posse was established. Gloria was out there doing the hard work, keeping the community looking good. She has spearheaded projects to beautify and clean up parkways and alleys. Gloria works tirelessly to improve her community. She does not know the word no or can't. She is a doer and gets it done. Gloria has truly been an asset to the 3rd District and is to be commended for her tireless efforts to improve the quality of life for all who live in the Southwest San Fernando Valley, my district, the 3rd District. Gloria, it's a real honor and pleasure for me, and I've known you since I've been in office, and you've been there at more affairs than I can count with your wonderful husband. You are a participant in this community in every single activity. And it's an honor to present to you the 2004 Pioneer Women, Los Angeles Commission on the Status of Women for the City of Los Angeles from the 3rd Council District. This is the certificate for you, and beautiful bouquet for you. Congratulations to you. Okay, we'll do a photo and then a couple words from Gloria. Gloria, some comments from you.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Dennis Zine, for selecting me for selecting me for this award. I want to thank your deputy, Sherry Adams, Tom Henry, and Michael Besson. I work with your staff very closely, and they're wonderful. I want to thank my husband for all of his help and support, my dear family for always being there for me, Michael Miller for always remembering me, Sherry Pollack, the dearest friend in the world, Greg Williams for planning our cleanup every year, my friends for their continued support over the years, the Woodland Hills Rotary Club, the Woodland Hills Chamber of Commerce, and the Woodland Hills Homeowners Organization for always supporting me in whatever I do. I want to thank West Valley Alliance for everything they do for our community. Daniel Ruiz, you're wonderful. Inspectors, Building and Safety, Street Services, Street Use for responding to my hundreds of requests.
Thousands.
Thousands. I'm very blessed, and I thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Ms. Smogel. Our next presenter will be Councilmember Alex Padilla.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Colleagues, this is Evie Markovitz. Real name is Evelisa Markovitz, and she is my Pioneer Woman of the Year award recipient this year. As I was, thinking a few months ago, who are we going to nominate? Who are we going to nominate? We've, over the years, looked at my district from the north to the south to the east and the west, and clearly when it came to the North Hills and Panorama City and that entire section of my district, there is one leader that has stood out for many, many years, not only as a woman, but a true leader in championing youth, especially troubled young women, but also has been pivotal in a turnaround of the North Hills community, which has for far too long been plagued with crime and violence and other issues. So here is Evie Markovitz, and as I was doing a little bit of homework to work on my introduction, I just found out more about her that I didn't know before, and I'm just truly, truly impressed. She's a product of that 1960s vision and idealism. She was officially trained by not only a master's degree in sociology, but through her work in the county, and charged with the very specific project at one point. Go and find out how we can better serve troubled young women. And so she put her field work and her educational expertise to the test and came back with a very disappointing result. It turned out that the more challenges a young woman was experiencing in life, the less resources were available to help these young women. So she took it upon herself to do something about that and has single-handedly, I believe, changed how it's done at the county, changed how it's done at the state, and not just affected policies and programs, but has really done it herself, put her work where her mouth is. As I mentioned, she was a product of that 60s idealism, having been a peace marcher in college, a feminist in her heart, a socio-political activist. She founded an organization at the beginning, just was a group home for 25 young women in Altadena. Well, that small idea, that small first step has evolved into a $25 million organization that provides services to thousands of children throughout the county of Los Angeles. Penny Lane is the name of that organization. No coincidence, that's a Beatles song, right? Penny Lane now provides therapeutic residential services, educational services to teenagers in dozens of facilities, but focused in that northeast San Fernando Valley area where the main facility houses 50 teenage girls. They also provide foster home and transitional housing services for hundreds and hundreds of not just girls anymore, but young men as well, outpatient mental health and other health services in the northeast San Fernando Valley, the North Hills community specifically, and so much more. You've read stories over and over about the North Hills community, the gangs, the crime, the violence. In that pocket behind the brand new park that we work together on, just off of Parthenia and Rayan and Sepulveda and that little triangle there, you'll see a physical, an aesthetic, and a spiritual rebound that has been made possible by the wonderful work of Penny Lane and more than anybody else, Evie Markovitz, the 7th Council District Pioneer Woman of the Year. Evie?
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, council members, fellow honorees. You know, it is, all of the things that we're talking about is not about being a pioneer and being a rugged individualist. It's about what people call women virtues, which are, it's about connectedness, it's about building, it's about bringing people together. Even government bureaucrats, they are people too. It's about all of those things that women know how to do. It's about tenacity. It's about understanding that a lot of us are better than one of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Padilla. Our next presenter will be Councilmember Janice Hahn.
Yeah, come stand around Grace. Come on. Mr. President, colleagues, I am extremely pleased to present to you the Council District 15's Pioneer Woman 2004, my good friend, Miss Grace Bradbury. Grace has been a resident of the Harbor Gateway since 1960. Grace is the mother of 3 children, Richard, Michael, and Sherry. Sherry had special needs, so Grace worked at home full-time to take care of her. And she also at that time served as a homeroom mother and a den mother for both of her sons. Very sadly, Sherry died in 1978, and it was that time that Grace began volunteering at the Los Angeles Police Department's Harbor Division, providing clerical and public relations assistance. In 1981, she received training as a crime prevention specialist volunteer. She has served as president, secretary, and treasurer of Harbor Lights, and we have the Harbor Lights here with us supporting her. LIGHTS stands for Ladies Involved in Time, Effort, and Service. An auxiliary group dedicated to assisting the Harbor Division and its officers. Grace helps answer telephones at the station, forwarding urgent calls to officers and detectives, and taking care of other issues that don't require police expertise. Grace has also been active with the Mayor's Code Watch, a group that tours the community and turns in problem areas in need of attention. It's Grace's commitment to the community that really caught my attention when I was elected in 2001. Every day, Grace drives through the Harbor Gateway and writes down all of the problem areas, from dumping to potholes to abandoned vehicles, other needed services, and calls or faxes them into the appropriate departments. And initially, Grace would get on the phone and call in, sometimes 15, 20 issues at one time. And in fact, our city departments were unable to process it that way over the phone, and in fact told Grace that she could only call in 3 items at a time, which is why I believe she's now resorted to faxing the list in to our department so they can handle her request in a more appropriate manner. But that's really why I chose her as a recipient of the Public Works Award last year, and she was also down here in council chambers. As Grace says, they've called me the queen of potholes because I try to take care of those complaints and things like bulky item pickups and street lights that aren't working. Wendy, that's the other queen of the potholes, so the two of you are helping to make our streets safer for all the residents in Los Angeles. In 1991, Grace began volunteering with the Harbor Gateway Torrance Outreach, a nonprofit organization that provides groceries and other staple items for needy senior citizens. In 1993, she graduated from the first LAPD Volunteer Academy. That same year, she received the J.C. Penney Golden Rule Award. Grace has continued her volunteer efforts despite 2 devastating accidents. One which unfortunately took her husband from her, and the other which put her in a wheelchair. But she never let her condition deter her from her good works. Grace says, "You can be in a wheelchair and still make a contribution. Now I work at home a lot more, but I can still get a lot done with my computer. I just love my computer. It's my life." For her outstanding efforts, Grace was named Citizen of the Year by the Harbor City Harbor Gateway Chamber of Commerce in 1991. She was also honored as Volunteer of the Year by the LAPD Harbor Division in 1995. In 1997, she received the Dominguez Brand Award, which is presented every 2 years to recognize contributions to people living and working within the boundaries of the Rancho San Pedro land grant of 1784. And in 2000, she won the Staples Star Award, which provided $1,000 for the LAPD's Harbor Division, and she has a star on the sidewalk in front of Staples Center. Look it up next time you go. Grace has been active with the United Way and the Bethel Baptist Church, and she's a grandmother of 4. As her name suggests, Grace is humble about the accolades she's received over the years, saying simply that it's not how many hours you put in, but what you put in to the hours. Colleagues, as you can see, Grace is truly a pioneer woman. She is true servant to her community and has improved the lives of countless people. She is courageous and she is tenacious. Grace Bradbury is by far one of the most inspirational women that I know, and she greatly deserves to be honored here today. I'm wearing the Rosie the Riveter pin today, signifying exactly what women have done in this country from the beginning, and that's to be brave, courageous, tenacious, and doing the job that needs to be done when it needs to be done. With her today are the Harbor Lights, Marianne Cyphers from the Harbor Gateway South Neighborhood Council, and we also have the commanding officer of the Harbor Division LAPD, Captain Gannon, here. I'm going to ask Captain Gannon just to say a few words before we let Grace say words. I always defer to my commanding officer.
Thank you. This is a great day for Grace. We're very, very proud of her. She has been a person at Harbor Station that I don't know what we would do without her. We're blessed, believe me. Thank you.
Okay, this is so Grace. I said, Grace, you want to say something? She said, just say thank you. That is Grace. It's never about her. It's always about how we can improve our communities and our neighborhoods. Congratulations, Grace.
Let me call on at this time Councilmember Ed Reyes.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to call up Pioneer Woman of the Year, District 1, Bert Saavedra.
Yeah, I'm next, then you.
Asking her family to join us
And I need Alex back here.
and some of the hardworking committee members of Westlake Pico Union. Council members, I am pleased to introduce to you Pioneer Woman of the Year, 1st Council District, Ms. Bert Saavedra, who is fondly known to most of us as Bert. Bert is the director and co-founder of the Pico Union Westlake Cluster Network that provides quality health and social services to Army community in my district that is comprised of mainly Mexican and Central American immigrants. Through education, she is able to bring positive options and choices in their lives by ongoing workshops and awareness in areas of policy governance, domestic violence, drug abuse, and health prevention. Her goal has been to create community support to address the issues in a culturally and linguistically sensitive manner to assist folks as they assimilate. The Pico Union Westlake Cluster Network is a broad-based collaboration of over 40 agencies who work to advocate to improve and stabilize the living conditions of our community. Bert has been working for our community for nearly 15 years. Through her grassroots efforts, she has led a coalition from Pico Union, taking on some pretty big giants like the development impact of the Staples Center to ensure that the folks in the community, their voices would be heard. It was her leadership that made certain that our voices were being heard during the negotiations. For years, she had led a liquor monitoring campaign to educate the community on Assembly Bill 2742, the Lee Law, to combat the negligence of those liquor stores and bars that have been a nuisance in the community. Over the years, she has worked closely with my office and the Rampart Division, and most recently, she has partnered with the State of California's Alcohol Beverage Control to ensure the safety of our families and to prevent our children from potential harm. In the past, Bert has served on numerous boards, including the Quality of Life in the Rampart community, Coalition for Safe Practices for Pico Union, Westlake, and South Park, the Children's Planning Council, the Alley County Commissioner of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. She has also served as a California coordinator for the census in MALDIF, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund. She's been the coordinator of the Southwest Voter Registration, Campaign Greater East Side, and district director for Congressmember Lucille Ballard of the 33rd District. As a stakeholder in the Pico Union area, Bert has chaired the formation of the Pico Union Neighborhood Council. She has chaired the Pico Union Family Resource Center, has been a member of the Pico Union Family Preservation Advisory Committee for a number of years. She's also a member of the Joint Area Redevelopment Committee in Pico Union and is a member of the Los Angeles Neighborhood Initiative. And she also sits as a member of the Latino Technology Conference. When I first met Bert, my first occasions to meet her, I was a staff person. And when she's out there and organizing community folks, literally going door to door, dealing with the liquor store issue, trying to see how we can take out some of the liquor stores, getting bigger companies to buy out these liquors, licenses, so that we can lower the presence of these liquor stores. And as you know, this is also an area, it's a portal for many countries in Central America, South America, and as such, we have tremendous pressures because of lack of housing, lack of open space. We're barely beginning to build the educational institutions since our children by the thousands are bussed out. So this is a community that is in tremendous change. It's a community that has suffered for many years. And it's the folks like Bert and the community leaders that are behind us today who have been able to make a difference. So for me, it's a great honor to have with us Bert Saavedra. her family to join us on this day to honor her and her great work. These, to me, are the unsung heroes. Thank you, Bert, for all that you do. Thank you.
Ms. Perry?
Bert, I also wanted to rise to say a few good words about you. And Ed's very lucky to have you in the 1st Council District, but I can selfishly say I've had the benefit of her skills as well. In the area next to yours, Ed, on the northern part, she's also worked with us on the liquor store issue and basically trying to improve our community. But I also want to say what a thoughtful and sensitive and truly sweet daughter she is, and I'm glad to see her father here today. She told a very touching story when we had the celebration, the reopening of the renovated City Hall, about her dad and the first time he had been here and how touching it was for him to be here again. And I hadn't forgotten that, but it shows how humble she is and how really, truly in touch she is with what it means to be a community and to respect one's parents and to honor our families. So I think you made a good choice.
I'm really humbled by this award because what I do because in Spanish we say I have the ganas, and in English we say I have the desire, and in other languages you might say chutzpah. But it's a gift that I got from my father and from my mom, deceased mom, to always do what you felt was true and right and never look back and not be afraid. And that's not to say before you enter a room you don't say a small prayer for someone else to give you that divine help that you need. I'd like to thank the women of Pico Union Westlake, some of which are here today, because without the women and their support and the organizing that we do and the advocacy that we do, and when I leave Pico Union or any community, all I want is the women to go forward and to teach what they've already learned and to implement, to take action. I think taking action is one of the most important things that you can do in a community to affect change. And I'd also like to thank my father for being here. I'm very grateful. My dad's going to be 91 this year. And my Aunt Marcela and her husband Moses Orerico, who I bring to help support my mom's side of the family every time we have an opportunity to acknowledge our family. But thank you so much, and thank you, Councilman Marias, and thank the women of the Pico Union Westlake cluster area. Thank you so much.
Más quiero decir, señor, brevemente, felicidades por un gran honor estar aquí con usted y su hija. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Our next presentation is from the 11th Council District, Councilmember Cindy Misikowski.
Marjorie? Members, as we listen to all these wonderful stories today, it really is an amazing tribute and showing the depth and breadth of women in our city and in our society. And you would be hard-pressed to find anyone more committed for more than 6 decades now than Dr. Marjorie Browdy. Dr. Browdy, as a psychiatrist, practicing since 1958 to the present, is an educator, an author, an activist, a wife, and a mother. She has dedicated her career to a wide range of women and children's issues, always bringing that first. The issues included substance abuse, post-traumatic stress disorder, feminist therapy, reproductive choice, child abuse and neglect in the forms of rape, and most recently, domestic violence against women and children. Marjorie graduated from the University of Chicago School of Medicine in 1950 and obtained her state California medical license in 1952. She is the wife of former council member Marvin Browdy, who is here with us today and is joining her. mother of 2 daughters, Lisa and Ann, and grandmother of Emma. Marjorie has been a leader in taking steps to correct the wrongs of others, and she risked her career to right the wrongs of patient therapist sexual abuse and sexual relations when she discovered several of her own patients had suffered that trauma. On this and other issues, her efforts have been to shape a national task force for the American Medical Women's Association to train healthcare professionals to be aware of the signs of these kinds of problems. Marjorie's social activism has also had a direct impact on a great deal of the city, the state, and federal legislation. Her relationships with the city and state legal departments and legislators have in the past resulted in Violence Against Women Act, a federal law which prohibits perpetrators of violence against women from carrying guns. In July of 1994, Marjorie had a significant impact on the city of Los Angeles as the founding chairperson of the Los Angeles City Domestic Violence Task Force. That task force works closely with the city attorney's office, the fire and police departments, community shelters, and other services to protect and give shelter to women and children who are abused through domestic violence and previously did not have a voice, did not have a place to turn. A few of the very long list of recognitions and honors bestowed upon Marjorie include the Leadership Award of the Los Angeles American Medical Women's Association, the City of Santa Monica Award for founding New Start, a community substance drug abuse center and counseling agency, the Bertha Van Heusen Award for exceptional leadership and service to the American Medical Women's Association, and Women for Women of the Year. Dr. Braude's reach is far and wide, and there are women today, women and girls, whose lives have been made better, who have been made better by what we now have in place with the Domestic Violence Abuse Program, that we can thank Marjorie for coming up with the idea, for bringing together the groups and the people to make this happen. And so it gives me a great deal of pleasure today to present to Dr. Marjorie Braude the Council District 11 Women Pioneer Award. Marjorie. I think we've got Marvin coming to stand by your side. Okay.
The first time I ever invaded City Hall was in 1994 when Marvin was chair of the Public Safety Committee of the City Council. And he and I got the idea of holding 2 major conferences for the police department on domestic violence, in which they eyeballed the community workers for the first time, and the community workers discovered them. And from that has grown a lot of things. Of course, it's a work in progress. A revolution is always a work in progress. But we founded the Domestic Violence Task Force. We do trainings of police officers every few months. We've altered many laws. We've developed agencies that will give women the legal protection they need when they're pursuing their cases. We accompany them to court. There are numbers and numbers of projects, all of which are grossly underfunded and are the best bargain the city or anybody could ever have, because there are dedicated volunteers who will get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go out and help protect some woman, and they don't get paid for this. They just do it out of love. And so whatever little bit of funding comes, we make the most of it. We ask for more. We appreciate when we get it, but we just plow on, and we're just making change, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you. Okay.
For our next presentation, let me recognize from the 5th Council District, Councilmember Jack Weiss.
It's good. Yes. No, they'll figure out which camera they want. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Colleagues, I think that you would agree with me that in all of our hearts, the woman standing next to me is still and will always be the First Lady of California. Will you please join me in welcoming Sharon Davis? I have no doubt that every single one of you around this horseshoe know Sharon Davis, that you've met Sharon Davis, and I also can bet that many of you can probably remember the first time you met Sharon Davis. And the reason I say that is Sharon is someone who has met thousands, tens of thousands. I mean, it's got to literally be in the tens of thousands. It conceivably could be higher. An extraordinary number of people in her decades of service to this city and to this state. And every single person she meets is touched by her personally. The way in which she greets people, the way in which she treats people, the way in which her sincerity, her caring, her warmth, her genuineness comes across to everybody, and the way in which her passions for the less fortunate and for children come across is something which I dare say everybody who has ever met Sharon Davis has come away with and can still recall to this day. And I'm very pleased to be presenting her with one of our Pioneer Woman Awards. Now, I'm sure that all of you know that Sharon's passion is for children's issues, health, literacy, mentoring, and she has numerous achievements in these areas, and I'll bet you if we go around this room that each of you could fill in an achievement, an issue, a matter in your district, a matter in some other part of the state where Sharon has been there. Let me just provide you a couple very brief highlights. In the health area, Sharon served as a spokesperson for the California Healthy Families Program, a program that provides medical, dental, and vision care to children from working families. Sharon and her husband increased participation of children in this program by over 1,000%, an extraordinary achievement for this state. In literacy, Sharon served as the honorary chair and founder of the Governor's Book Fund, a private fund for school library books. She published her first book, The Adventures of Capital Kitty, which when we were out in the hallway, somebody stopped her and said, I remember when your book, Capital Kitty, came out. I remember talking about it with you. And all proceeds from that book went to provide books for California's school libraries. She's also been very involved in mentoring, as her position as honorary chair of the Governor's Mentoring Partnership, which encouraged mentoring to offer young people encouragement, friendship, and motivation to help them succeed academically and in other areas of their lives. And just as children and women's issues have been her passions in the past, they remain her passions today. And she today is as active as ever, if not more active than ever, in so many worthy and impressive endeavors. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if several, in fact, I know some of you who are being honored today, like Tyree, are already working with her on some of these next ventures. And I'd like to ask Sharon Davis, First Lady Sharon Davis, to tell this council about some of those right now. Congratulations, Sharon. We're really honored to have you today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for this honor. Thank you.
Mr. Dudlow?
I'm particularly honored. Whoops, the photos? Oh, no, go ahead.
Mr.
I'm sorry,
Ludlow.
Mr. Ludlow. Thank you.
I'm sorry, very seldom do you get a chance to interrupt the First Lady. Yeah, right, don't do it again. This will be the last time. Sharon, it's a real honor to have you here. And I wanted to just echo something that Jack said, which is that I do remember the first time we met. And I'll never forget during the campaign in '98, the energy that you brought to every campaign headquarters you showed up in. And the highlight for me was putting together a rally on Crenshaw Boulevard. And it was great turnout. Thousands of people showed up. And for me, what made it so amazing was inauguration night. You had written into the official program that your most memorable moment during the whole campaign was a rally in South Los Angeles on Crenshaw Boulevard. And so many people read that and saw that, and it was just so kind of you to remember all the people that worked on the campaign. And it just has been, it has been great, and it's a real honor to have you here. And I know there are a number of my colleagues who have Antonio and Tony, who've had a chance to work with you in Sacramento. But what I remember is you were always the calming force around the administration. No matter how crazed he got, there was always Sharon there to remind everybody why we were there and that he'll be okay. And I appreciate that because it made a big difference. And as Tom and I were sitting here joking, and you've taken the jokes very, very well, we wish we could have had you for just a little bit more at the end. So anyway, you did a great job, and it's an honor to recognize you here today. Thanks for all the work that you've done. And on behalf of flight attendants, you made everybody very, very proud. Job well done. Thank you.
Mr. Cardenas.
I think it's important for everybody to understand that Sharon has been dedicated for many, many years. Before she became the First Lady, while she was the First Lady of California, I was honored that Sharon, and as expected, Sharon, that's the person that you are. You kept your commitment. You promised to give thousands of books out into my district. And even after changes were made here in California, you followed through with that. Both of us together, you and I, we read Capital Kitty to the kids. Long after the kids are going to forget, who are those people? They're going to have those books to read and to learn from. So thank you so much for being the person that you are and the kind of person who just keeps her commitments and keeps on going. So congratulations and thank you.
Ms. Gruhl, followed by Mr. Villaraigosa.
I just wanted to add my comments as well. Sharon, you have been instrumental in so many wonderful programs in the state of California and have been an inspiration to women like me for all that you have done. And I want to just echo what my colleagues have said and acknowledge Jack for being smart enough to recognize Sharon Davis. We're glad, glad and sad, but glad to have you here in Los Angeles, and know that you are everywhere these days, and we benefit from you being able to be active in things that are happening here, and I know that you're going to continue to be that pioneering woman for so many of us, and really a inspiration for young women who are going through school who will look up to you. So congratulations.
Mr. Villaraigosa.
Mr. President, members, it's a real joy to say a few words about my great friend, Sharon Davis. Let me, all of us who were concerned, and in fact passed a resolution just a few short weeks ago about the state of the Healthy Families Program in California, about the idea that we would cap a program that's been the most expansive outreach and program for health care since Medi-Cal. I was the author of that program, but let me tell you something. After a year, there were 35,000 children on that program when Sharon Davis became the First Lady. And I remember standing with you at the East LA Health Foundation, where we made our first appearance on behalf of the Healthy Families Program. And you stood there with the governor by your side. That day he was standing behind you. And you said that you were going to make it your avocation and your commitment to expand that Healthy Pack program. And now more than 700 children have health care because of you. And to me, that's a testament to what being a First Lady is all about. It wasn't about having teas, as some had done before you. It was about doing something. It was about encouraging the man that was elected and pushing him, as you did, as we saw you do time and again, for health care for children, for foster children, for all of those important issues that meant so much to you and to us. And so when we honor you and all of the women who are here today, We honor true pioneers, and you stand first among them. We're honored to have you here today.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sharon, I don't know you as well as some of my colleagues, but I've seen you at many events, and I've seen your class, your poise, and they say there's always a good woman behind every man, and you've been a wonderful supporter of Gray for all those years, and it's a real honor to see you here in City Council, and I acknowledge what you have done for the people of California and continue doing that good work for the people of California. I was recently watching Leno, and I saw a Gray on without a tie, which I don't think I've ever seen him without a tie, and the new casual look, and I've seen him at a couple of events. Relaxed, having a good time, enjoy it, because it's well-deserved, and congratulations on being the pioneer woman. Congratulations to you.
Ms. Perry.
Sharon, I also wanted to rise to say thank you and recognize you for all the wonderful work that you did on the Grand Avenue Committee and making sure that we prepared for the future and made the most of our opportunities to provide cultural assets and cultural jewels for all the people of Los Angeles. And thank you so much.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. Sharon, I wasn't going to speak because everybody's saying great things, but when Dennis just spoke about that, I just got a slide because how Marjorie Browdy was so great to Marvin, who served so well. I just wanted to catch up on that, and also how you were so great to Gray. And really do that. And I just hope now, I know people say you're all around town, I hope you're exploring California. 317 miles from right here is Yosemite. I was there last week. I don't know when the last time you've been there, but take Gray up there. And this great state is so green right now because of the rains. Enjoy this period of your life, and congratulations on being a pioneer woman, and give Gray the best regards, and tell him the job of the observatory is going well thanks to him.
Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thank you for all that you've done for California, and I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that my wife sends her regards. She's always viewed you as her favorite, and we just miss you. You've done a wonderful job on all the programs, but I think, as someone said earlier, the one thing that we all appreciate is just how genuine you are. Whether you're in a community event or you're at a 1,000-plate dinner, you're the same exact person each and every time. And I just want to say thank you, and we look forward for you to continue to work with you.
And if I could add just my few sentences to the chorus of praise you're getting here today. I think we're all jealous of Jack Weiss because we wish we had you in our own districts and to be able to be the ones to honor you, but that privilege and honor goes to Jack. We just thank you for gracing our council chambers with your presence this morning, and as everybody has said, thank you for your years of service to our state and for looking out for our city. I know that one of my biggest honors was getting an award from the Children's Museum of Los Angeles a few years ago at the home of Doug Ring and Cindy Misikowski, and it was such a big deal for me because I was on the same card. I was being honored alongside you, and for me that was a big, big milestone, so congratulations.
Thank you all so much. I'm just so deeply moved. You know, during the 5 years we commuted from Sacramento, we came back to Los Angeles every weekend because it's our home and it's a place that we have grown to love. And now that we're here permanently, I can't tell you how much it is appreciated, all that you've done here in Los Angeles, especially with ensuring that Disney Hall would be completed, and that now that I've been there during the day to have lunch, I've seen just the tourists who come here from all over the world. So you should be commended for what you're doing in this city to make it a world-class attraction for tourism because of the extraordinary amount of new architecture going up. And I'm pleased to see, as I came around the corner to come into the City Hall here, is that the new Caltrans building is going up, and it is going to be another stellar building here in Los Angeles. I really have been quite honored to have an opportunity, and a unique opportunity, to give a little bit back. But I couldn't be more honored than to be honored with this group of women who have worked long and hard in their communities to really make a difference. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the Commission on the Status of Women, which is such an extraordinary organization, and many women have had opportunities given to them, and was pointed out this morning that many of you have women as chief of staffs, and that's just a reflection of the fact that the Commission has done such a good job to attract women into government and into government jobs. I just wanted to put in just one humble request in that I'm still out recruiting mentors for kids, but now we're recruiting mentors for foster kids who have very special needs. And so anybody who's inclined to become a mentor to a foster youth, we're encouraging them to sign on at childrenunitingnations.org, and they can look into becoming a mentor and helping a special child. And I'm going to just close with this because I think so many of the women being honored have exemplified this. And when I was growing up, I was told you should bloom where you're planted. And now I realize that every now and then you have to have some manure put upon you so that you can really grow. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was great. That was really, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Our next presentation is from the 14th Council District, Councilmember Antonio Villaraigosa.
Yes, come on over. Ven para acá, todas las mujeres. Ven como la familia. Yes, Mr. President, members, this is my first opportunity to bestow this honor on someone in the district, Consuelo Valdez, our 14th Councilmanic District pioneer. You've heard me say from time to time that leadership, when deduced to its most simplest component, if you were going to say what's one thing about leadership, the one thing about leadership is a leader that makes other leaders, that creates other leaders. And Consuelo Valdez is one of those leaders. She grew up in Oxnard, California. Her father, Jose Maria Valdez, was her inspiration, was an organizer himself, a man who knew that his responsibility as a man who worked in the fields alongside of Cesar Chavez, that his responsibility was to teach his children the family values of standing up against injustice, of speaking out against tyranny, of standing up and being a voice for those who didn't have one. And so in the 1950s, we won't say how old she was at the time. She was a young girl, and she'd accompany her father in the fields alongside of Cesar Chavez. And as all of us celebrate Cesar Chavez's birthday in a few days, this is a woman who's, as a young girl, walked alongside of Cesar, was organizing farm workers, was going to those endless meetings, those one-on-ones that were so famous in the Saul Alinsky style of organizing. In her home, the term shop steward and union were household words. In the 1970s, Consuelo worked on the strawberry strike and the UFW boycott. We probably crossed roads back then because I first got involved in the late 60s in the boycotts here in Los Angeles. In 1978, Consuelo moved to Los Angeles, where she worked on improving services to the immigrants and the seniors at the International Institute. Later in the 1990s, Consuelo was there working again on an active citizenship campaign. You remember after the 1980s, the amnesty efforts created a bunch of new people that were eligible for citizenship. But it took special people like Consuelo to go do all of those applications, to help the people through the process, to provide them with the skill set, if you will, to pass those exams. She was a part of that effort back then. And then in 1996, Consuelo joined Proyecto Pastoral, becoming the director of Comunidad en Movimiento. Let me translate that for you. The director of Community and Movement and Action. And when you think about that, community and action, but also part of a movement, because movimiento is movement, a community that understands that the way to empower a community is one person at a time. And it was incumbent upon Consuelo to lead that effort back then. She founded the Comunidad en Movimiento, and the goal of this program was to address issues as identified by the community itself. So this wasn't a leader that said, I know what's best for you. These are your priorities, as sometimes elected officials might do. What she said was, what are the things that are important to you? What are the challenges that you face in this community? What are the things that we can do together and make a difference? She did that one-on-one and helped to create what is indeed a very, very special movement and organization in the East Side and Boyle Heights and Aliso Pico community. One of those two very important projects was the Safe Passage Campaign and the Dolores Mission Safety Project, which are models for community policing. When people visit this city, people running for office, people looking at best practices from all over the country of community-based policing, they come here to Boyle Heights, to Dolores Mission, to meet with Consuelo and the other women who are here today. And I dare say if there's something about Consuelo that I've come to see over the years, it's this sense of humility, this sense of understanding that she is not better than, she is part of. She trains members of the Boyle Heights community in order to help them to develop strong leadership skills. She's hired and trained other women who began as residents of the community and have grown into community organizers and leaders themselves. She is, in addition to that, like many of the women we've honored here today, not just an organizer, not just a leader, but a mother of three, a grandmother of two, granddaughters, balancing, as women often do, as my own mother did, a single mom, the struggles of being a mom, a family member, a grandmother, a leader, and most importantly, a great friend to all of these people. So it's my honor on behalf of the 14th Councilmanic District, and I dare say in the next 3 years as I finish this councilmanic term, I'm going to be able to bestow this Pioneer Award to others. But you are the first, and you stand as the first in line of the many pioneers who are here standing with you. And so I urge you to welcome Consuelo Valdez, the 14th Councilmanic District Pioneer Awardee. Now we're going to take a picture. Rock and roll, it's your turn.
Thank you very much. I'd like to, first of all, thank the women here that are from Dolores Mission community. You see the women in green. All the work that's been done in Dolores Mission would not be possible without their leadership, their skills, what they bring to to organizing. And so I accept this award in their honor. I think it's their award as well. And I'd also like to thank Father Michael Kennedy, who's here, who's been my inspiration as well, and Fred Ross Jr., who is my mentor, who are present here. And so I'd like to thank them. And my father, Jose Maria, who I lost 2 years ago. And I know you're here, Dad, and my mom. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next presentation from the 2nd Council District, Councilmember Wendy Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am so pleased today to introduce a woman who many of you know and wish she was in your district and had the community college in your district, but I'm lucky to have Dr. Tyree Weeder be my nominee today. I consider her to be a friend, a colleague, and most of all, an inspiration. Dr. Weeder is a native Angelino. She attended public schools, received her AA from Compton Community College, a BS in sociology, and a master's degree in educational psychology from Cal State Northridge. She went on to receive her doctorate degree from UCLA's Higher Education Administration. From there, she began a career that has touched many lives and has made dreams possible for the hundreds and thousands of students that attend community colleges every day. She began her tenure with the Los Angeles Community College District at Mission College as Dean of Students. She was later appointed Dean of Academic Affairs. And after working as the Director of Educational Programs from the district, she moved to Valley College, her home away from home, as Vice President of Academic Affairs in 1989. From there, she has worked tirelessly to create programs that will empower the thousands of students that attend Valley College every year. And this is not an easy task. She needs to provide a positive learning experience for incoming freshmen, returning students that are polishing up their skills, adult learners, vocational students, while creating the flexibility for students to balance outside work and other responsibilities. Dr. Weeder has headed the efforts at Valley College to continue its reputation for offering the best in education. A new state-of-the-art language lab, expanded computer labs, and new equipment in their science laboratories. Dr. Weeder's work does not end at the doorstep of Valley College. She has given her time and energy to many organizations that target public safety, education, economic development, and women's empowerment, issues that are near and dear to my heart. Was a member of the Los Angeles Police Department's Community Forum. She served on the Honorary Advisory Board of Haven Hills Shelter for Battered Women and Sisterhood Temple Ahavat Shalom. She currently serves as the board of directors of the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, the Economic Alliance of the San Fernando Valley, where she is co-chair of the Education and Workforce Development Initiative Committee. She serves as on the board of directors of the Chief Executive Officers of the California Community Colleges, as well as the advisory committee of the Auto Club of Southern California, and the Governor's University of California Regents Selection Advisory Board. Throughout the years that I have known Tyree, I've always admired her passion for lifelong learning and her passion for the city of Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley. Education for me, and I know for her, is truly the foundation to all of the great things we try to accomplish around this horseshoe every single day. Dr. Weeder embodies the spirit of human empowerment and economic development through education. For all of those that began their career and future at Valley College, for those that have returned after many years, and for her colleagues that have received nothing but support and encouragement to move forward and create programs that empower our communities, it is a great privilege and honor for me to acknowledge Dr. Weeder as the pioneering woman for the 2nd Council District, and I believe for the city as a whole. I am lucky. She's mine. I'm not sharing her today. And I just want to thank you, Tyree, for everything that you do. She also served, which you didn't mention, on the redistricting commission, which I'm not sure why you wanted to do that, but we all appreciate it in this room. So I'd like you all to welcome and give a great big round of applause and congratulations to our friend, our colleague, and an inspiration, Dr. Tyree Weeder. Thank you. Thank you. Take a look. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I would just like to take a moment to thank Councilmember Gruhl because she has made such a difference in CD2. We're both out in the community lot. We run into each other at different events. But I also want to thank all of you because the role that you have as a public servant is a very complicated one these days, and your responsibilities are very complex. I also want to thank you for your support of community colleges because what I do every day of my life is wake up and think of ways that we can work together to improve what happens in terms of educational opportunities for the people in this city. And in our community colleges, we serve a lot of immigrant students who need basic skills training. We serve a lot of individuals who are looking for workforce development and looking for opportunities in the workplace. And in order to do that, we need jobs in this city. And I know that all of you are working very diligently to make sure that we keep jobs in this city. And that is what makes me getting up every day really wonderful and important, and how much I love what I do. It is my passion. And this award, thank you very much, is one of the kinds of things that keeps me going in sometimes what are very difficult times that we're all going through now. So thank you so much. I do so much appreciate this.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you. Doctor, before you flee back to the campus, I just want to offer my congratulations. I attended Valley many years ago in those bungalows that are still there and still educating the
They're
students.
leaving soon.
Okay. Probably not too soon, right? But I know you've done a tremendous job over there. I just want to offer my congratulations. And as Wendy knows, the three of us see each other at many events in the San Fernando Valley, very committed to the people of Los Angeles and that community. Many folks have graduated from Valley and gone on to further government and other activities in life. It's a real positive ground for people, and it's a wonderful aspect to have that in that community. So congratulations, keep up the good work, and I just wanted to personally say, carry on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For our next presentation from the 13th Council District, Councilmember Eric Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, members of the public, have you ever asked what if? Thank you. Have you ever looked in the community where you live and dared for a moment to dream, to think that the place that you grew up could be better, that it deserves more, that people need to come together as one? Well, today, my honoree for Pioneer Woman of the Year from the 13th District is Gloria Moya, somebody who dared ask what if in her community. Gloria was born in Elysian Valley, which most people drive by, fewer people know. It's tucked between the LA River and the 5 freeway, a very old community, a very stable community, working class community in which a lot of people for many years have lived. The 5 freeway was built through. I know many of us have histories in Elysian Valley. Mr. Villaraigosa used to represent it. Mr. Reyes, when he was a council deputy, worked in Elysian Valley as well. Mitch O'Farrell, my deputy, is here today. And Elysian Valley is one of those hidden treasures in Los Angeles. The river flows by it on one side and a lot of cars on the other. But tucked between those two arteries, we have people of courage, people of bravery, people like Gloria Moya. Gloria grew up in Elysian Valley, and she's dedicated herself to making it a better neighborhood. She's one of the founders of Elysian Valley United. I know we have another one of the founders here, Alberto. I don't know if you want to come forward and join us. I think you should. But with the two of them and Steve Zimmer, these three folks decided that they would take over an old sweatshop in Elysian Valley and convert it into a community center which really didn't exist at all in the community. And many of you have been there. We've had our ad hoc river committee. I know that Ms. Gruhl and Mr. Labange, Mr. Reyes, and Ms. Perry on one very rainy day spent time at that community center. It's become the library for the community. It's become the school for the community. It's become the computer lab for the community. And today, we're celebrating what Gloria has done as a volunteer. For the last 11 years, Gloria has been a teacher, a high school continuation teacher. And she's made sure that those folks who grow up in Los Angeles who sometimes steer away from a path of progress can come back and join that path. To give young people, as she was just talking to Channel 35 before, to give them a sense of dignity about themselves when there's so many forces that take our young people away from feeling good about themselves, about their own communities. The journey to create the Legion Valley United Community Service Center began as a mission for Gloria and for the members of the community who joined her to improve the services to the mostly Spanish-speaking residents in Elysian Valley. Gloria and her colleagues formed the organization and enlisted the help of local high school students. And one of the great things about the organization is you go there and you see young people teaching young people. They have projects from graffiti removal to having community health fair, offering counseling to young people and to their families, relationship counseling to make sure that there's a reduction in things like domestic violence, and bringing in the resources that so often bypass so many of our communities. Gloria does prove that one person can make a difference in his or her community through relentless hard work, fierce dedication, infectious optimism, and most of all, hope. And when we look at the theme of this year of hope and possibility, Gloria embodies what happens when hope and possibility turns into reality. She's a true role model to countless girls and boys in Elysian Valley to show what you can become growing up right here in the center of Los Angeles. Her quiet, patient ways reflect tremendous strength of character. She was instrumental in the Elysian Valley Neighborhood Council, which was formed and is the smallest neighborhood council recognized by all of you colleagues, 8,000 residents who have formed their own neighborhood council. Gloria quietly goes about seeking solutions, usually out of the limelight, but today we wanted to make sure that she got pulled into the limelight to be recognized. In addition to her work at Elysian Valley United, at the Elysian Valley Riverside United Neighborhood Council, Elysian Valley Riverside Neighborhood Council, for the last 2 years she has served as the treasurer there, and she's helped the effort to organize that neighborhood council that was certified in 2002. So colleagues, I hope today you will join me before we hear from Gloria in honoring her for the many accomplishments in Elysian Valley and in this city. As Tom LeBon says, in a city of angels, we have truly an angel right here today in Gloria Moya. Please welcome her and congratulate her with me today on being a pioneer woman this year.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank Councilmember Garcetti and also to very special people, my sister Anna, who's always been there for me, and also Albert Vargas, who's in the back. Right after college, and I had just finished obtaining my teaching credential, I felt like I had all this available time that I could do something with. And I was lucky enough to meet Albert Vargas, who gave me an opportunity to come and volunteer at the newly formed Elysian Valley United group. And they needed a teacher to come and teach GED preparation classes for adults in our community. And because of where our community is at, nobody was willing to come and teach. They were afraid for their own safety to come there in the evenings. And that opened the doors for me. I'm very timid. If you don't know by now, I'm probably shaking. But he basically opened up the doors for me to do something for my community when I thought that just by teaching in the classroom, I was doing my part. And I think we need to remember that in our communities. People are waiting to be asked to do something, and we just need to go up to them and ask. And most of the time, people will be willing to come forth and be part of something that will improve their community. And I would like to thank Albert from the bottom of my heart, and also my sister Anna for being here for me. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to invite our special guest here, Deputy Mayor Sarah Dussault, to come forward as well. And ask people's indulgence and forgiveness in the midst of the... I'd like to invite also Mayor Jim Hahn, Mayor of Los Angeles, to join me for a special presentation. We don't have any resolution. It's coming. I know that we had our creative services working very hard with Pioneer Women, so I want to read from the resolution a little bit that we'll be presenting on behalf of the mayor and the city council today about Sarah Dussault. I want to say personally, though, as somebody who's been working on a very historic moment in housing issues with a mayor who fundamentally believes that housing is an issue that we had to put at the forefront of this city's legislative agenda, and who pushed forward, together with this council, a more progressive housing policies than we've seen probably in a generation. That Sarah Dussault, as the person in the lead for Mayor Hahn during this important period, has really written one of the best chapters any of us could have been a part of. You all were a part of that too, in creating the largest affordable housing trust fund per capita in the United States of America, in expanding what used to be wet weather and cold weather shelter program into a year-round shelter program for the homeless, in pushing forward with a strategic plan to end homelessness here in the city of Los Angeles. But Sarah's duties weren't just in housing. They also included Department of Building and Safety, the City Planning Department, and the Housing Authority in the city of Los Angeles. And I'll read a few things from the resolution. That Sarah was a key leader in developing and implementing the largest municipal affordable housing trust fund in the nation. Under her leadership, the city has developed and implemented a highly leveraged program from the Housing Trust Fund, which has funded over 1,000 units of affordable housing, representing over $200 million in public and private investment in affordable housing here in the city of Los Angeles. For every dollar that Sarah fought for every dollar that you authorized, we leveraged that 5 to 6 times in the city. That is something to be incredibly proud of. It's the model of how government should and can work. I mentioned the Winter Shelter Program. Sarah is widely respected and admired within the city and in the broader community as an intelligent and insightful policymaker committed to quality public service and ending the city's housing crisis. I know that Sarah recently also became a mother, and we are so happy for her. I know that she will be looking forward to spending time with her child as well. But I wanted to just say a couple things before turning it over to the mayor. I know there's some council members who probably want to chime in as well. That Sarah, thank you, thank you, thank you. You were somebody who always answered the phone. You were somebody who was one of those tireless fighters outside of the limelight. I mean, you truly are a pioneer woman here. So it's a fitting day that we're honoring you as well. But you were somebody who always put principle above politics. You always knew that the bottom line of what we had to do was to make sure that people can live in safe and decent housing in this city. And just as Mr. Cardenas said about Sharon Davis, that long after people don't remember who Tony Cardenas and Sharon Davis are, long after people don't remember any of the names around this horseshoe, there will be housing in this city that gives that dignity to family, that basic human right, and we thank you for what you have done to make that a reality. And with that, let me turn it over to Mayor Jim Hahn.
Thank you, and Councilman Garcetti. Sarah is someone who did all of those things that you described, Councilman, and more, and we really appreciate the fact that the council is recognizing Sarah's work. We came into a city that needed to do more to care about those who were less fortunate, to work on the Housing Trust Fund that the council so generously helped us establish. But getting this city into a place where the state of Sacramento understood we were serious about wanting to build housing was also a tremendous achievement that Sarah worked on. And Sarah was able to get money down here to help us build housing that we weren't able to do before. Whatever the job was that she tackled, she was successful at. And whether that started when we were campaigning together, Sarah was the person in our campaign who was responsible for developing all the policy initiatives that we're now implementing today during this administration. But she took a special interest in housing and caring for people. And it's more than just the money that she was able to get. What you've been able to do is that there's families who are in shelter now who wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the work that you're doing, and our work to take care of homeless people who would be on the streets now, but are able to be in a shelter because we were able to extend the winter shelter program. So it's not just about money, it's because you cared about people and understood what that impact was on people's lives that really was the spark that gave you the energy to do everything that you've done. Now, sometimes we had to tell her to go home because she would have stayed there till 1 in the morning every night working on all these projects. There was nobody who worked any harder on these issues, but it's because your heart is so big and that you had the talent to actually do what your heart wanted you to do, was able to accomplish all the great things that you did. So we wish you well. We know you want to spend more time with Luke, and we certainly, I think everybody around here wants you not to be a stranger, but keep coming back. Congratulations.
I have on the queue Ms. Hahn, followed by Ms. Gruhl, Ms. Misikowski, Mr. Weiss, and Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I just wanted to rise too and say, Sarah, from the bottom of my heart, I want to really thank you. You worked on some really challenging housing issues in the 15th Council District, and I really believe that if you had not been working on these issues, they might not have ever come to a successful conclusion. I particularly think about the Franklin Square issue, where we now have 39 homeowners in Watts who had felt very much lonely and frustrated and betrayed on a number of issues, and now they all have beautiful brand new homes almost, and you are really to be thanked for that. That was a tangled web that I'm not sure any of us knew we were going to get out of, but your work on that. I also, your work on the Navy reuse property in San Pedro, which is still not, that's the only reason I'm really sad you're going, because that's not done yet. So. But that's something that we had to deal with the federal government, we had to deal with the Navy on, and your expertise, your knowledge, your calm serenity in the midst of some very hostile community issues really, I think, served all of us well. And finally, you were able to help us secure the Hope 6 grant for the Dana Strand Housing Project, and for that I'm really grateful. I'm hopeful that all of our housing projects can someday really be transformed, and that we will give people opportunities to be homeowners. And in Wilmington, we will literally transform a community and a neighborhood because of what you were able to do. So thank you very much. You really, your expertise, your knowledge, but as my brother said, your big heart really, I believe, influenced every single day that you came to work. So thank you, Sarah. And I know Lee Swanson also feels the same way, and we will miss you very much.
Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. And Sarah, we've become good friends over these last couple of years, and the mayor's right. You not only did something on housing, but did all the public policy development during the campaign. And when I first met you, you were very serious, and you were all business. And I thought, who is this woman who is has quite a stature but was very serious and knew everything about any issue I would ask her about. And both Eric and the mayor and Janice are right. I mean, the difference that you've made in people's lives, it's very hard to be able to understand that as you stand there. And I know when I worked in the mayor's office, I worked on some of the same issues. And my proudest moments were getting a homeless shelter built. And some of those people who lived in that shelter had no idea who Wendy Gruhl was. But you have people on the street who are housed today because of your dedication. And they are going to know someday that Sarah Dussault helped get them a place over their head and families, and that you were tenacious on a lot of issues, and would come in and say, this is the way we're going to do it, and this is the way it's going to happen. You weren't afraid to sometimes take us on, but also be side by side with us. And I know my staff, Leslie Polner, particularly appreciated all of your efforts, and Mercedes Marquez, who we were trying to recruit and to get here, I said to her, I said, have you met Sarah? Have you talked to Sarah? And she said, Sarah's one of the main reasons I'm coming here to Los Angeles, because she set that path and put it at the level that housing is so important. And Eric talked about the Housing Trust Fund, which there's a lot of debate about source of funds and what was going to happen. And there the mayor stood, and I know in my district before I was elected, saying, we are going to have a housing trust fund, and you get a lot of credit for that. And I just want to say that you will be sorely missed in this city and in this council chambers. And as the mayor said, we know you're not going to be a stranger here in this chambers. And as someone who we shared in the experiences of having a new child and the joys of that, and that no matter how bad those days are, you go home and you look at that child's face, and they give you the strength to keep on what you're doing, and know that they're going to be very proud of you. Your son is going to be very proud of you in the future of all that you accomplished here in the city of Los Angeles. So we're looking for great things for you in your next endeavor, and we really will miss you, and thank you for being such a good friend and colleague.
Ms. Sikowski.
Thank you, Sarah. This is really a chorus, and what Eric said was right. I mean, not only did you help provide funds, but you did so much more than that. You not only set the way and the place of providing funds and security, but you would roll up your sleeves and dig in and get the job done. Janice mentioned projects. We could go around this horseshoe, and in each district there are projects today underway. Projects, instead of saying there's money, go talk to somebody, you said, let me meet with you, let me meet with the developers. I dare say we could fill this room with the affordable housing advocates and the development community, and they would all sing this same chorus. You brought them together to say the city is here to help. You don't need to be enemies fighting each other. Mr. Reyes is working on the inclusionary housing, and that too comes from a lot of what you have done. We could just go on and on, because you have made such a difference. You have opened those doors. You have made projects entitled. You have made them better. You have made them able to be done. Even in as big a project as Playa Vista, where we had some tough negotiations and some sense that, gee, maybe affordability wouldn't be there. Affordability is there today and more because of you. You are truly, truly, truly going to be missed. You are a shining star in helping to guide us in this policy, in this advocacy, and doing it in a way that doesn't have to be contentious, confrontative, but really embraces and brings people in to say, we can do, and you have done. Thank you.
Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sarah, everybody has talked about your tremendous accomplishments and abilities as a public policy professional. I want to embarrass you and just talk about you a little bit more as a person and as a lawyer, and say that, as you know, we share a mutual friend who's really one of my closest friends, and who is really one of my sort of personal guides to, who are the real gems in this world, who are the real good people, and he's told me about you and your husband for quite some time, and having had the chance to work with you in person, you're everything that you were represented to be and more. I can't think of a classier public servant than you, Sarah, and I know your background because we both clerked for federal judges, and there is no doubt in my mind that you can, could, and will professionally continue to write your own ticket, because you have an extraordinary set of credentials, and the fact that you chose to do this job for the city of Los Angeles was, for every moment you were there, a gain to the city of Los Angeles at a time that you could have been doing many other extraordinary things. Very shortly, I know that you will go on to do many other impressive professional, legal, and public policy things. I look forward to hearing about them and hopefully having the chance to work with you in the future. Congratulations and good luck to you, Sarah.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Sarah, I just want to say thank you. I know when we first started, it was a little tense. I think there's a creative tension here. I think the sense of immediacy we have and the urgency, when you barely get to know someone, you're not sure, okay, how much do they really know? And when you look at the struggles our communities are going through, I really believe we're in a real historic place in Los Angeles. When you see so many people not being able to afford those places that once were attainable and considered undesirable are now becoming the new Los Felices, the new Silver Lakes. And quite frankly, to even get to a home in my district, it's hard to touch one if you can't afford to pay a $250,000 mortgage. So it's gotten that bad. At the same time, though, I realize that you have that same passion that I have in my office. We get attorneys together, like our person who was taking my lead was Sharon Lowe and yourself. I figure, okay, these are attorneys, okay? They have that way of dealing with each other, but at the same time, I just want to thank you for what you did for our Section 8 program, showing that leadership, seeing how you're pushing the year-round homeless shelter program, and then looking at the roles we're playing in the anti-predatory regulations, which is something we have to stay focused on. But again, to also realize that you're looking out of the box. We were talking about shared uses, mixed uses, and how you're pushing different projects. And I just want to thank you for the respect we were able to share with each other, for the hard work that you demonstrated. And believe me, having a daughter who's 15 and 3 boys who are growing up fast, I know it's painful not to be there for them and with them when they're growing up. So I think you're making a wise choice. So thank you very much.
I just want to thank you all. It has been an honor and a privilege every day, and everything that we have accomplished together. I really appreciate the accolades, but you know, I'm sorry, it's all shared. And at every moment, I was representing Mayor Jim Hahn, who has given me the rope to run around and the leeway to run around and do some amazing things. And I am so grateful for that, because I will always have that. And I think the city is a better place because of all of you. I think the city is a better place because of him. And I am, you know, I'm so proud in the face of enormous challenges. Councilmember Reyes hit it right on in terms of how many times you wake up and think there is no light at the end of this tunnel. We are facing significant fiscal challenges in the city, significant challenges dealing with the state and federal government. And I truly believe that there is the talent and dedication here to choose some creative paths and find those solutions. And I am so grateful for the amazing people that are in place, like Mercedes Marquez and other folks. Andrew Edelman, I saw here recently, and the general managers that I have had the pleasure to work with, and your staff that I have had the pleasure to work with. And I truly thank the mayor for this opportunity. I never thought in my lifetime that I'd get to do something so great as be a part of city government, and I think it's been just an honor. So thank you all.
For our next presentation from the 4th Council District, Councilmember Tom LaBonge.
That was a very nice presentation for the deputy mayor, but here we're honoring someone who is so important, and I know let's give all the pioneer women a great hand, and all the people and all the soon-to-be appointed commissioners a hand. But Jane Gilman, you're very special. You're my pioneer woman of the year 2004, and I thank the Commission on the Status of Women for this annual event. Jane does a wonderful job. She publishes the Larchmont Chronicle, which is a very important community newspaper, over 40 years serving the 4th District. And I wanted to salute you because of all your work over the years, because you've always cared. The community meetings that you attended, the work that you've done, the efforts that you have to inform the community. And I know the big metropolitan newspapers may have all a staff of reporters over in the wings of this city hall, but it's the local community papers that get the news down to the people, and Jane Gilman has been a great pioneer in that. She's originally from New York, went to Rye High School, and she went to Beloit College, is that correct? And graduated there and was very involved as a schoolmate there, but as a co-founder of the Larchmont Chronicle. She is my Pioneer Woman of the Year. She has so many accolades, including the Citizen of the Year for the Wilshire Chamber of Commerce, past president of the Community Police Advisory Group, co-founder of the Taste of Larchmont. And this is a great idea that Jane and others found, but in a community where they got the restaurants together, they had a night out in the summertime where they have a taste of Larchmont. You could have a taste of Jefferson Boulevard. You could have a taste of Winnetka, Dennis Zine, and you could get all the restaurants together, and they raise money for local causes like the YMCA and other community, HopeNet, other community organizations to help those who need help and who appreciate the great help. She co-founded the Larchmont Chronicle with Don Goodwin, another great woman of our era here, but she's done a magnificent job. Ladies and gentlemen, I could go on and talk on and on, but she has a deadline because she is a publisher of a newspaper. And I want to make sure next month's editorial is good for the 4th District and the people of the city of Los Angeles. So therefore, I have a power invested in me as a councilman of the 4th District. I hereby salute Jane Gilman as the 2004 Pioneer Woman of the Year for the exceptional job that she does in informing people and helping promote community news throughout the city of Los Angeles. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Dudlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Labange, I wanted to just say thank you for doing this. And Jane, recently I saw the 40th anniversary edition, and colleagues, you should know that it was one of the most amazing spread foldouts in the middle that showed all the different neighborhood associations and organizations that are really sort of under the Larchmont area. And it was a real great piece of work that I know community groups and activists and residents are going to post probably on their refrigerator for many, many years because it was that handy and that helpful. And just a real tribute to you and all the work that you continue to do. So great things to report on in Council District 4. We'll look forward to the next edition to see what comes out. Thank you. I wasn't going to say it because I didn't want to solicit it, but now that you said it, we're looking forward to a great article. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to say that when we started the newspaper 40 years ago, it was to highlight a lot of the good that's in the community. And you wouldn't be reading about and knowing what these women have done unless it were for their community newspapers. So I feel we're a very important part of the city. And I also feel that there should be a commission on the status of men, because really, you all are role models too, and I don't know why you don't get your moment in the sun. So someone should think about that. And then lastly, because of Tom, I took the Metro Rail here, and I just don't know if I'm going to be able to put all those flowers back on the subway. So I'm going to return them to Tom's office and to all the wonderful staff, because he and his staff are a fabulous cooperative element that make our newspapers so great.
I know. Mr. President, thank you. Thank you for what you said about community newspapers. They are so important. But I don't think we need a commission, right, Mr. President? Because we know that it's the women of the world that help drive all community. All community. If it wasn't for women, we wouldn't have our great mothers. And God bless everybody in the world who's ever come here, but it all started with women, so we don't need any commission.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Labange, 52% of the population.
Right, that's right. Good. Thank you, Jane. Here we go, right here.
For our next presentation from the 12th Council District, Councilmember Greg Smith.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Today, representing Dr. Jolene Kester, the president of Cal State University Northridge, is her Chief of Staff, Clara Cavalluto. Unfortunately, the president of the university couldn't be here because by the time she got notified of the date of the event, she was already been scheduled back east at an event back east, so she would not be able to be here today. But we do want to recognize her, and I hope you'll take these flowers back, put them in the ice box, and make sure she gets them when she returns on Monday or Tuesday. Dr. Jolene Kester is president of the Cal State University of Northridge. She joined the university in July of 2000, coming to us from the California State University in Sacramento. Cal State Northridge is the largest university of the 23 universities in the Cal State University system. And Dr. Kester presides over that university, which has 32,000 students from a very diverse population and 3,000 employees, making it one of the largest employers not only in Los Angeles, but certainly in the San Fernando Valley. Dr. Kester immediately came here and made an impact in our community. She serves on the board of the Economic Alliance of the San Fernando Valley. She serves on the board of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce here in downtown, and also on the Southern California Biomedical Council. In 2002, Dr. Kester received the Armin Arabian Award for Leadership in Public Service, and also the Encino Chamber of Commerce Award as the Woman Who Means Business. In 2003, Dr. Kester received and accepted the award for the Star of the Valley Award from the Economic Alliance of the San Fernando Valley. She set a goal to improve the quality of life of the students at the university and also make sure that the graduation rate increased, which she is already doing. The university offers some 90 different degrees in various 60 disciplines, and while she is there, she's increased the attendance, and also now they have some 32,000 students at the university. But more important, she wanted to make a connection to the university, to the community. When I met Dr. Kester the first time, she said to me something I've never heard uttered from a president of that university in the 20-some years that I've worked in that community, and that is she understood that while it is a shining star and a great institution in our community, it also creates negative impacts in the community. And that's the first time the university ever admitted that they are a negative impact, and that this president wanted to make sure she worked very closely with the community to make a good connection. For the very first time, a university president at Cal State Northridge has a strong relationship now with the neighborhood. She meets regularly with the citizens in the neighborhood, and we've talked about traffic mitigations, we talked about traffic flow and parking. I have a commitment from her to work over the next couple of years on the university's Greek row housing problem and try and find a real fraternity and sorority row, which Northridge does not have. And the community strongly supports that concept. She's been to our neighborhood councils. The administrative staff at the university now serves on the neighborhood council in various capacities in the neighborhood, and just does everything she can to connect the university in a positive way with the community. She has certainly been a role model to the female students at Cal State Northridge, but more importantly, she's been a role model to the entire community on how a university president can make a true impact on the whole community, and has been truly a greatly accepted leader in the community. And wherever I go, whatever organization I'm speaking at in the general area, the Northridge University, everybody has good things to say about this president. And that's the first time I can tell you in many years that the community has really taken to the president of the university and treat her as a friend and a true participant in the lifestyle and the neighborhoods of our community. So to Dr. Kester, my undying gratitude for her changing the attitude of the university to making the university a real partner in the neighborhood, and for carrying forward the role of women in the community to the very highest level. And it's with great pride that I give this to you, and I know you'll take it back to her with our undying thanks and love. Thank you very much. For Jolene Kester.
Thank you very much, Councilman Smith, and thank you to the entire council. President Kester did send her regrets. She was very sorry that she couldn't be here this morning. She did have a long-standing commitment that prevented her from being here. But she wanted to say how honored she is. She's deeply honored to receive this award, and that she receives it on behalf of Cal State Northridge. And she said the award is for Cal State Northridge. She has a very strong commitment to the community, as Councilman Smith said. It's very important to her to have a very good relationship. And that she wanted me to express to you again her thanks on behalf of the university, which is a vital force for the educational, economic, and cultural life of the San Fernando Valley and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. For our next presentation from the 6th Council District, Councilmember Tony Cardenas.
Here you go. That's for you. Before I introduce my Woman of the Year, person I'm very proud of, I'd like us all to say hello to a visitor to our chambers today, Nick Insunza. He's the mayor of the city of National City. He's one of 12 full-time mayors in the entire state of California. Welcome to the City Council chambers, Mayor. Thank you. I'm honored to recognize Lupe Canales as Council District 6's Woman of the Year. Lupe was raised in Pacoima by her mother, Josefa de Jesus. Josefa de Jesus, Lupe's mother, raised Lupe and her brother as a single mother since Lupe was 2 years old. Lupe was raised by a strong woman role model, and her mother, incidentally, only had a 4th grade education, but certainly had a lot of spirit and determination to raise her children properly. Lupe Canales has been serving us as a librarian since 1986. She performs her duties with a humble, loving, and dedicated manner. She treats everyone with equal respect and fairness. For example, when she goes, shh, and people don't heed her demand, she asks them to please leave. Alex Padilla knows this because when he was a young boy, he was escorted out of the Pacoima Library.
Tony, the roast was last week.
Just a little residual. I wish I would have known this last week. Like I said, she treated everybody equally. She was confident that her discipline would serve him well, and I think it has. Lupe Canales stands out as a leader in her field. Lupe has brought great honor to our city by being awarded the New York Times 2003 Librarian of the Year, and an honor only 2 librarians in the entire Western United States can say that they were 2003 honorees of that award. Lupe does her job well, she does her job diligently, and she certainly has learned what it means to be educated properly in the home and to be a good public servant. With that, I give to you Lupe Canales.
Thank you very much. I'm sitting here listening to all of the wonderful things that these women are doing, and the thread that runs through all of the talk that's been here from these ladies has been one thing, in that they had each in their own way have made a difference. And that is one thing that my mother instilled in me, which was to try and make a difference to the best of my ability. Each of us is given that God-given ability to make a difference, and it's up to us to do either in positive or negative. I really firmly believe that for all the positive that we do, it comes back sevenfold, and I really don't want to find out about the bad part, so I'll just leave it at that. But I'd like to thank all of you for just letting me know that what I'm doing does make a difference. Thank you.
Hey, I'll carry this for you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. For our next presentation from the 10th Council District, Councilmember Martin Dudlow.
Congratulations. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Okay. This is a question.
I'll bring it.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here this morning, this afternoon, to present the 10th District Pioneer Women's Award. And with that, I wanted to acknowledge something that Sharon Davis did earlier today, which was to really acknowledge the work of the Commission on the Status of Women. This has been an exciting day for the awardees. For some, it's been a very long day, but a meaningful day. And so for all those who are still here in spirit, colleagues, let's do a warm round of applause for the rest of the people that are still coming up today. And there's somebody that says, save the best for last. So we're getting to the last 3 here, and we're really excited. Colleagues, I'm here to present the 10th District Pioneer Women's Award to Deborah Brandy. And it's a real honor for me to do this. I met Deborah before I was actually sworn in, but just after I had been elected. She serves as the principal at Hillcrest Elementary School, which is in the heart of Baldwin Village. And as many of you have heard me refer to on some occasions, this summer we launched a program called Summer of Success in Baldwin Village. Baldwin Village is the area of my district that represents the most densely populated area, and demographically is one of the most densely populated areas of urban poverty anywhere in the western United States. It continues to struggle under the new acronym of the jungle, which we all know, those of you that have studied history, and Tom LaBonge knows it well, that the area got its name because of the lush vegetation and all the fruit trees, and as demographics have shifted and the socioeconomic status has changed, it has taken on, unfortunately, the wrong negative connotations in the media. But in the middle of all of that, there's been a real shining light, and that has been this principal. This principal has stood tall, and she has stood firm on the side of trying to give children an opportunity and give children hope. She has been spoken very highly of by many of the residents in Baldwin Village who see Hillcrest Elementary School as a real island, an island of opportunity, an island of safety, and an island of hope. Here with Deborah is, I believe, Arnie Rubenstein, or at least has been here today, Lisa Lasassier, the assistant principal at Hillcrest Elementary School, Joyce Jackson, the administrative assistant, Mrs. Weller, the school coordinator, and Chris Jones from the Wide Dream Foundation. And I wanted to just say a couple of things. When you look at Miss Brandy's background, Hillcrest is a music magnet school. In fact, I may be wrong, but I believe it's the only elementary school music magnet school in all of LA Unified School District. And I personally have had an opportunity to be at the school for some wonderful musical programs that the kids and the parents have really enjoyed witnessing by some of the star students that are there at the school. Miss Brandy got her Master's of Arts degree from Cal State LA in '93, earned her Bachelor of Arts degree from Cal State Northridge in '84. She has over 10 years of experience as a classroom teacher at Parmalee Elementary School and Windsor Hills Elementary School. She's been an instructional advisor and has coordinated trips to Sacramento to get children involved in understanding what state government is all about. She's also served as a Title I coordinator at 66th Street Elementary School, where she was very active in coordinating parent education, something that I know many of you colleagues hold near and dear as the future of lifting children out of poverty. She served as assistant principal at 61st Street Elementary School and assistant principal at Lauren Miller Elementary School right there in the 8th Council District, and then was appointed principal at Hillcrest. But I wanted to do one thing, colleagues, and read something that we found. This was a letter that was written back in 1999. And as you all know, there's nothing like getting recognition from the people who work with you to really give you a sense of self-worth. Dear Madam or Sir, I am the community parent representative at Lauren Miller Elementary, and I'm writing this letter of recommendation on behalf of Mrs. Brandy. Miss Brandy is the type of person who is organized and puts children first. She also values the input of the parents. In March of '98, our administrators and office manager left unexpectedly, left the elementary school due to personal reasons. So you can imagine the kind of discord happening at the school. Teachers were coming and going with employees wearing several different hats. We needed help badly. In July of '98, Miss Brandy came and turned the discord into success in a very short time. Suddenly there was order in the schoolyard and in the school itself. She helped focus the children by playing music like I Believe I Can Fly over the school PA system and other children-related songs. The children have settled down and fewer children are sent to the office for fighting or misbehaving. Miss Brandy's professionalism and leadership are unmistakable. She expects the best from the children and gives that herself. She also includes everyone in the learning environment. She allows me to work closely with the students, staff, and community members, and this makes me feel good as a parent and a member of the school's team. Miss Brandy feels we should all embrace and take pride in our children. That makes us feel good as parents. The parents, staff, and students appreciate having a well-organized, supportive, and pleasant person coming to our school daily. Although we will miss her deeply, we know becoming a principal is a long-awaited dream. Miss Brandy has worked hard and deserves this opportunity. I recommend her for principal to your school, and I know that she will be a great benefit to you and your school community. And that is a letter that was sent to her to the LA Unified School District as she was going through the process of being appointed the principal at Hillcrest Elementary School. And so on behalf of the 247,000 constituents in the 10th Council District, I would like to present this certificate of commendation and this bouquet of flowers to the 2004 Pioneer Woman for the 10th Council District. Colleagues, please congratulate Deborah D. Brandy.
Good afternoon. I feel very honored and very humbled to be here. I want to thank my councilman, Martin Ludlow. He is the best in the world. Let's give him a big round of applause. I was sitting in my office one day and I received a phone call, and it was a very sexy voice on the phone. And they said, "Is this Principal Brandy?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." And he said, "This is Councilman Martin Ludlow." So I sat up in my seat. And he began to reintroduce himself to me, and to ask me, "What are the needs of your school?" And at that time, it popped in my head, if you want change, get behind a leader, not a politician. And this man is a leader. Please give him another round of applause. Thank you.
That means a lot. Thank you.
I know this is supposed to be about me, but I have to say that about you. If I visit the beauty shop, he's walked by and introduced himself. If I go to the store, he's walked by and introduced himself. You are a leader that people can touch, and we appreciate you and love you for your leadership. I do want to thank you and accept this on behalf of the Los Angeles Unified School District. I am a product of the Los Angeles Unified School District. I attended 93rd Drew Junior High School and Fremont High School. I am a Pathfinder, the class of 1910. I want to thank my Superintendent, Roy Romer. I want to thank my local superintendent, Sharon Robinson. I want to thank my supervisor, my boss, and my mentor, Dr. Ernie Rubenstein. Please give her a round of applause. She is a woman of her word and a pioneer herself. I want to thank one of my assistant principals that's here with me. The school is still going on. Ms. Lisa Lasassier, my right hand, thank you very much. My administrative assistant, Joyce Jackson, my other right hand, and one of my coordinators, Marjorie Weller, she's my other right hand, and Chris Jones from the Why Dream Foundation, my other right hand. Thank you very much. I am accepting this on behalf of the 1,350 children at Hillcrest Elementary School, the staff of 200, and the community of Baldwin Vista. We appreciate everything that you've done, your leadership and your love that you give to us, and every day we get up and we remember that we walk by faith and not by sight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ludlow. Sexy, and you can touch him. All right, Mr. Parks is going to be our next presenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the privilege of doing the 8th District and 9th District. I'm going to ask, on behalf of Ms. Perry, who had to leave, she is nominated as her Pioneer Woman of the Year, Cecilia Nunez, and we're going to ask to have her representative come up. In representing Ms. Nunez is Yadira Arivalo. Yes. I got it. Can I say it again?
Got it. Say it again.
No, one time is all you're going to get. That was as close as we can get there. But I'd like to just give you a little description of Ms. Nunez's accomplishments. She is a true Angelino, born at Angeles Hospital in Los Angeles. She attended and graduated from Belmont High School. She later married and her two beautiful daughters, Frances and Teresa. She's a single parent. She worked hard as a single mother during the day, worked as a secretary and attended night school at Los Angeles Trade Tech to expand her education. She set a goal to work to achieve, and in 1998 she began working in the legal field as a legal secretary. One of the things I think is so important is her activism, and two highlights I think that will identify where and how she's made such an impact on the community. In March 1986, she decided to pay attention and particularly an interest in low-income community. She began to realize that it was enduring the loss of housing stock in the early 60s. She began to see beautiful Victorian homes and craftsman homes that went by the wayside as far as the wrecking ball, and they were replaced by warehouses and parking lots. many businesses came and went from the neighborhood and left abandoned buildings. So she decided to change the trend. She joined with her fellow neighbors in a fight to prevent a zone change from residential to commercial industrial. The group triumphed in the end. Instead of construction of a 60,000 square foot factory, came Villa Esperanza, an affordable 33-unit apartment complex comprising of 3 and 4 bedrooms with child care center and the community adult education center. As a result of this effort, the Esperanza Community Housing Corporation was founded, and she was one of the original board members. Another great example of her work started in 1999, where she became concerned that the LA Unified School District was in the process of building schools in the neighborhood that would have taken several residential locations. She and her neighbors were not opposed to the project, but recognized that there was a need for more schools, but they wanted to spend a great deal of time and effort to identify other sites with LA Unified School District. Their efforts paid off. One site is now under construction at the old Santee Dairy, located at 23rd and Maple, future home of the Santee Dairy High School. And the other site soon will be the home of the new middle school near Mercado and La Ploma. She has certainly been an activist as it relates to a variety of issues in the community. And I think what's important also is her own quote that she feels about her neighborhood. She said, "My fellow neighbors and I continue to work towards improving the quality of life in our community for all of its residents and to protect and stop any future destruction of our community, especially as housing stock. We would like to see the construction of affordable, low-income housing in the future and hope to be involved in that endeavor." And so that's just a couple of the accomplishments of Cecilia Nunez, and we'd like to ask you to make some comments in her behalf.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Member Parks. I'm here on behalf of Cecilia Nunez to receive this award. It is an honor for me to represent her here. Unfortunately, she couldn't come. She's on a well-deserved vacation in Mexico. And I just want to say to you and to thank Councilwoman Jan Perry for choosing her to receive this award. We, her colleagues in the community workers and the activists that she works with, think that she couldn't have chosen a better person to receive this award. She is truly a jewel in our community. She works tireless to preserve the housing stock in our community, to build more affordable housing, and to bring quality education, and to improve the quality of life in general in our community. She does it without pay. She does it on the free time that she has of her own because she works as a legal secretary to make a living, and she does it quietly, almost anonymamente, without much recognition. So we're very proud that her efforts are not gone by unnoticed, and that she is receiving this recognition. And Cecilia, if you're listening or you see me, we are very proud of you, and congratulations. Thank you very much.
Step back here and take a quick photo.
Our next presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. Oh,
8th District.
it's the 8th District.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the 8th District, we'd like to ask Marlene Wilson to come up. You have some guests?
Yes.
You have some come up also. The 8th District has nominated Ms. Marlene Wilson because of her numerous contributions to the community. She has both personal and professional accomplishments. She received recognition as the outstanding service for the UNCF March of Dimes and AIDS Foundation. She also is an advisor for the NAACP Los Angeles Branch Youth Council. She created what is now called the Man of Valor Award. In her spare time, she's an 8th grade teacher at Markham Middle School. That is probably what drives her interest in youth in our community. She was recently elected to serve as president of Ladera Heights chapter of the Top Ladies of Distinction. In that chapter, she also was presented to become the first national honor of the Top Ladies of the Year award in that organization of Ladies of Distinction. This is the most prestigious award given to a lady in this organization. This also documents her support and involvement in such programs as the Top Teens, Senior Citizen, Status of Women Beautification, and Community Partnerships. That last program is one in which she just recently adopted the common area between just south or just north of the Houston Park and Recreation Center, to where her organization is going to take on the responsibility of maintaining and beautifying a large plot of land that's important to the 8th District. We believe that the real purpose of her existence is not in making a living, but in making life a worthy, well-rounded, useful life. Her quote as to her goals and her philosophy of life is that she wants to be able to do this by doing all the things she can, in all the ways she can, in all the places she can, and all the time that she can, to all the people she can, and most of all, for long as she can. The 8th District is very pleased to honor Ms. Wilson for the Pioneer Woman of the Year Award to the 8th District, not only for her numerous commendations, but her day-to-day activity in resolving many issues within the 8th District. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Words are inadequate for me to truly express my appreciation to Councilman Parks, to the Status of Women Commission, and to the City of Los Angeles. I am indeed honored and so excited about this award. Thank you so very much. But it is because of the opportunities that are offered to me in our community. I enjoy working with senior citizens, beautification projects, and we just had an extraordinary beautification project and a gift giveaway in the 8th District during the Christmas. And that's not only the things that we do. We do so many things in the 8th District, and it affects the entire city. And I really appreciate my friends and my members of Top Ladies of Distinction, the Ladera Heights chapter, for accompanying me here today. Once again, I want to thank Mr. Parks for all of the opportunities, for his leadership, and most of all, for his dedication and for the love of District 8. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And again, a very hearty congratulations to all of our Pioneer Women Award winners this year in 2004. It's a wonderful tapestry of this city and of accomplishment. Let us take up public comment. Have we called the roll yet? Okay. Okay.
Mr. President, next item is item 15, which is the mayor's appointment of Dr. Jackie Kimbrough to the Commission for Children, Youth, and Their Families, the Arts, Parks, Health, and Aging Committee. Waive consideration. A motion is required.
Okay. Dr. Kimbrough, if you'd like to step forward to the table here, and I'd like to call on Councilmember Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti, and I am speaking on behalf of Ms. Perry today as well, who was not able to stay and wanted me to make sure that I shared with all of you around this table Ms. Kimbrough's, I think, qualifications, her commitment, and her willingness to serve on the children, youth, and their families. Dr. Kimbrough founded the Children's Collective in 1972, a nonprofit in the 9th Council District that positively affects our youth and their families. And the collective operates in 13 locations all over South Los Angeles and serves about 4,000, okay, it said 400, but 4,000 children, youth, and adults a year. We really feel that she's an ideal candidate to serve on the Children, Youth, and Families, and is going to bring a wonderful perspective to a commission that I know many of us feel is critically important here in Los Angeles. So on behalf of Ms. Perry and myself, I want to say thank you, look forward to your participation, and thank you for what you've done as the leader of the Children's Collective for so many years.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much, and I'll take that as a motion as well to approve. Mr. Parks?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We work daily with Ms. Kimbrough right at the Rita Walters Learning Center and a number of activities. One of the things I think is important because of the job she's going to take on, that we might just hear a little bit of what her philosophies are in dealing with some of the youth in our communities.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Garcetti and council members. I am very privileged and honored to be the mayor's appointee to the Commission on Children, Youth, and Their Families. I am executive director and founder of the Children's Collective, which is one of the largest child, youth, and family development agencies in the city. Currently, we serve about 5,000 children and 7,000 of their parents and other adults every year. And as I just discovered, we offer operations in 5 of the council districts, 8, 9, 10, 13, and 14. I trust that my 32 years of experience in public policy, program development, and agency operations will add value to the Commission's work. In my youth, America was a nation of rising expectations and optimism, where children, youth, and their families could aim high and expect to experience a reasonable measure of success. Though the economic and political climate have changed, this generation of children and youth and their families deserve the same opportunities. So I look forward to working with Councilman Parks, with all the other councilmen in this district and all the other councilwomen, as well as the Commission, in terms of collaborating with the commissions to implement policies and practices such as early intervention, prevention, and family support, which promise improved outcomes for children and their parents. As we grapple with the issue of allocating scarce resources in a city with myriad needs, let us remember and be guided by the words from President Dwight Eisenhower more than 50 years ago. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies in the final sense a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, from those who are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It's spending the sweat of its labors, the genius of its scientists, and the hopes of its children. And I hope to add considerable value to the city of Los Angeles in raising the hopes and expectations of the children and providing programs that support improved life outcomes for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think what's so important, I just met with Ms. Kimbrough, that it's just not providing service for youth, but she's even looking beyond that for both health and dental care for young people at her programs, to that they will begin to get all the services that they need. She's already identified that, although she's doing a great job with 4,000 kids, that they have many, many other needs that are not being serviced, and she's looking each day to resolve those. And I'd ask that we have an aye vote on her position here for the commission.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. I'd like to recognize Mr. Ludlow to be followed by, Mr. Labange, I'm sorry. Mr. Labange followed by Ludlow. Go ahead, Mr. Ludlow, my mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it, and thank you, Mayor Hahn, for this nomination. And Dr. Kimbrough, I haven't had the opportunity to work with you, but have definitely heard of you, and am very excited about the level of expertise and experience and commitment that you bring to this nomination. Colleagues, when you look at this resume and portfolio, not to take away from the many, many other commissioners that we have in the various commissions around the city, but this is quite exemplary. And if you haven't had a chance to look at it, I know from time to time it's becomes a little bit routine, that if we haven't heard anything negative, we automatically go with it. But colleagues, if you haven't, I really encourage you to look at Dr. Kimbrough's background. Thank you for all that you're doing. And with that, I want to concur with what Councilmember Parks said, that there's some very significant issues, very significant struggles. One of the first presentations that I remember upon getting here to the council, I believe, was on a motion from Councilmember Garcia Garcetti, where we had a presentation from the commission. And it was daunting. It was quite chilling to see the levels of poverty that children are living in Los Angeles and how significant those levels are. I think even in my own district, where I think sometimes we don't believe there's poverty, we like to kind of just look at our own block and the outrageous number of children living in poverty in my own district is something that concerns me. And what I was hopeful about was the commission president's attitude towards taking this on a vigilant basis. And obviously you're stepping into the shoes of another great and quite competent commissioner. But I look forward to your ideas, your leadership. There's probably nothing more significant than the work that we do as a council than looking after the needs of children. And I'll just end with this, colleagues. Last night, I got a call from a deputy chief who had informed me that there had been a shooting in our city, that a 10-year-old child had been shot last night. And fortunately the child did not die, but it's a multiple tragedy because when the officers went in to inspect the home, what did they find? But a list of clients purchasing cocaine and marijuana from that 10-year-old child. A .38 caliber pistol with boxes of ammunition that child is using. And when you think about that, there's no way that child learned to do that without the most egregious and negative external forces known to humankind. And for that to exist in the greatest city on the planet, in my opinion, in the 21st century is criminal. And until we find a way to bring that child into a new day, we haven't done our job. And so, Commissioner, you've got big shoes and a big responsibility, but we know with this background and your passion, children like that one stand a real chance. So we look forward to your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And now, the great Chair of the Arts, Parks, Health, and Aging Committee, Mr. Tom.
Thank you very much. We're going to call for the vote, but I thank you for your patience.
Yes.
You're a pioneering woman. Even though you weren't honored today, you get an appointment, but you're pioneering for staying longer. I also wanted to recognize your staff who came down to support you. Please stand and give them a little hand. There are all these good people who came to support. This is a commissioner who's going to lead and join with those other commissioners that Mayor Hahn has appointed and focus on those issues. And your quote was absolutely beautiful. I thank you, and I call for an aye vote for Dr. Kimbrough. Thank you, Jackie, very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labons, and thank you, Dr. Kimbrough, for putting yourself forward for services and the great things you already do in the city. Will you please open the roll on the nomination? Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
You're unanimously elected. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much.
Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Now would be time for comments from the public on non-agenda items.
Okay, now is time for public comment. I'd like to invite forward and thank these folks for their patience. Maria Josefina Medina, Manny Garay, and Diogenes Rumbos. Por favor.
Señor presidente municipal.
Un momento, por traducción.
Señor presidente municipal.
Mr. President,
todos
Municipal
los
President,
consejeros,
and all the council
vengo presentando
I come
a
presenting
todos los campesinos
all the farm workers
que estamos con la
that are
31
on
y la
31st
Alameda.
in Alameda.
Venimos a darles
We come
las
to give
gracias
you the
por el
thanks
apoyo que lo han dado.
for the support that you have given us.
Por eso
That's
vuelvo a
why
repetir
I
a
repeat
todos
again
los concejales
to all the
y a
council
usted, señor
people and
presidente,
you, Mr. President,
les agradecemos el
we
apoyo
are
que nos han
grateful
dado.
for the support that you have given
Y
us.
también
And also,
quedan invitados
you
por
are
algún
invited
día
for someday.
quieran ir, lo vamos
If
a
you want to
recibir
go,
con
we're
las
going to receive you
manos los
with open
abrazos.
arms.
Y no se olviden,
And don't forget,
usted como presidente
you
municipal,
as
el
municipal
día que
president,
piensen ir, me mandan un recado
just send me a
para
message
saber
to
y
know
esperarlos con las
and wait
manos
for you
abiertas.
with open arms.
Es todo, y
That's
gracias.
all, and thank you.
Gracias.
Hable.
Perdone, yo
I'm sorry,
soy campesino ahí de la
I'm a farm worker
en la 41 en la Alameda.
on 41st and
Venimos a
Alameda.
pedirles
We come to ask you
que nos den permiso ahí
to give us
de trabajar el
permission to
terreno a
work
otro
the land
para enseñar a nuestros hijos para que sepan cómo,
so that our
cómo viene
children
lo que van a
learn
comer
how-
en la mesa.
they learn to how
Que sepan trabajar,
it comes
agarrar
from
un
what it comes to their
asadón, agarrar un
table
asadón, una pala,
to pick up a shovel,
un
a pick,
tractor para
a
trabajar la
tractor to
tierra.
work the land.
Esto les agradecemos a los
We are very
concejales
grateful to the council
que nos
people
ayuden, por favor,
to help us, please,
al alcalde que nos haga favor de ayudarnos
to the
a
mayor
seguir
to help
trabajando el
us to
terreno allí,
continue working the land there,
para enseñar a nuestros hijos que sepan trabajar la
to
tierra.
teach our children how to work the
Muchas
land.
gracias a todos.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Gracias por su testimonio.
Buenas tardes
Good afternoon
a todos los miembros
to all the
del
members
consejo.
of the council.
Nosotros venimos
We are
aquí
coming here
para pedir
to ask
apoyo
support
en mantener nuestro jardín
to maintain our garden
en la 41 y
on
Alameda.
41st and Alameda.
La razón que venimos
The reason
aquí
why we come here
porque estamos
is because we
seguros
are sure
que nuestro futuro
that our future
está en las manos de
is in
ustedes,
your hands,
especialmente
especially
en la señora Jan
on
Perry,
Mrs. Perry, John Perry,
que es la concejal
that is
del
the
9º
council
distrito.
woman of the 9th district.
Y este jardín
And this
está
garden is
en ese distrito,
on that district.
pero como veces atrás que
But
hemos venido,
sometimes that we have come here,
algunos concejales
some
de
council
otros distritos
people of other districts
dijeron
said
que nos iban a ayudar,
that they were going to help us.
pero en tiempo atrás no
But
teníamos tiempo
Back in that time, we
suficiente.
did not have enough time.
A hoy
Or today,
tenemos tiempo
we have time
para que ustedes
so that you
consideren
consider
nuestra
our
petición
petition
en salvar
in saving
nuestro jardín,
our garden.
que para nosotros
That for us
es nuestro Edén
is our Eden
en la ciudad de Los
in the
Ángeles,
city of Los Angeles
que está llena de
that is full of
contaminación.
contamination.
Y este lugar
And this place,
es un lugar para
it's a
respirar
place to breathe
aire puro.
pure air.
Lo que pedimos
What we're asking
que nos dejen
is to let us
enseñar
teach
al resto de la
the rest of
comunidad
the community
que la tierra
that the land
necesita cuidado,
needs care
porque nuestro planeta
because our planet,
está en peligro.
it's
Y
in
ustedes
danger,
lo saben.
and you know it.
Y nosotros,
And we,
con nuestras manos,
with our hands,
la cuidamos con amor.
we take care of it with love.
Y de esa forma
And in that way,
tratamos de
we try
transmitir
to transmit
a nuestras
to
generaciones
our
futuras
future generations
que es el tiempo
that it's time
de cuidar
to take care
nuestra tierra
our land
y nuestro planeta.
and our planet.
¿Por qué destruirlo
Why destroy it
con plantas generadoras de
with plants that generate chemicals?
si ese lugar
If that place
nos está ayudando
is helping us
a purificar
to purify
la contaminación que ya existe?
contamination that already exists,
Señores, por favor, ayúdenos.
please help us.
Está en sus manos.
It's in your hands.
Ustedes lo saben.
You know it.
Ustedes dicen
You say
que están para ayudar a
that
nuestra
are here to
comunidad.
help our community.
Yo lo creo.
I believe it,
Y creo que nos van a
and I
ayudar.
believe that you're going to help us.
Necesitamos
We need
espacios verdes
green spaces
como el que ya tenemos.
like the one we already have.
Al contrario de
Al contrary,
destruirlo,
instead of destroying it,
pensamos nosotros los
we think,
campesinos
the farm workers,
que necesitamos más
that we need
espacios.
more spaces.
Se los dejo en su
I leave
pensamiento.
it in your thoughts.
Y le pido a Dios
And I ask God
que les los ilumine
to illuminate you
a tomar la mejor
and to
decisión.
take the best decision.
Gracias.
Pero simplemente recuerden,
But only remember,
la tierra
the land
es donde vivimos
is where we live
y los que la trabajamos.
and the ones that work it.
Gracias por su tiempo.
Thank
Muchas
you for
gracias
your
por
time.
su
Muchas
testimonio.
gracias.
Thank you very much for your testimony today. This closes public comment for today. If we can, next item, please.
Item 11 was called special by Councilmember Parks, and amending motion 11A has been distributed to all members.
Okay. Mr. Parks, we have item number 11 with an amending motion already circulated.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a mini motion, an action that was taken at Housing Committee on the 18th. The report failed to include $118,880 to Toberman Settlement House. And so we're asking that the current item 11A be exchanged for that 1A that's put in this motion that increases the total amount to $353,880, but specifically addresses $118,880 to Toberman.
Okay. And is the CAO in concurrence with this? Do you have any?
Yeah, this
I know
was
Mr.
an
Chair.
action that was,
Okay.
they agreed
Okay.
at the
Great.
Housing Committee.
Let's open the roll on that, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 23 was called special by Councilmember Smith.
Mr. Smith? Forthwith? Forthwith on 11, please. Mr. Smith?
Yes, thank you. Is Mr. Fujioka still? Yes, if you please take the center table. I've been waiting for this all day with bated breath. Mr. Fujioka, when you were here the other day, I think what we expressed, at least some have expressed, were concerns that the amount of money that is going to this is very important, and I agree with Mrs. Hahn, absolutely, we want to do this, I want to do this. My concern was, and I know Mr. Parks feels the same way, we want to know where the money's coming from to pay for this, because as we sit in Budget and Finance Committee, repeatedly we hear we don't have the money for these things, we're consolidating funds all over the place to pay the bills, to get us through the end of the year, and yet we're taking the money we need desperately for sidewalk repairs out of what fund? Where is this money going to come from to cover this cost? Because we don't have that money. And I want to support this. I want to find a way that I can vote for this in good conscience. I want very much to put the money into that account with Ms. Hahn. It is something we desperately need to do, but where are we going to get the money to do this?
During the past week at this council's request, we looked at a number of potential funding sources. Without going into or a lot of detail, when the day is over, those various funding sources would eventually revert to the reserve fund. So this money would be coming from our reserve fund. And what we mentioned is that in our mid-year report, we identified a number of items that we were recommending that we would take the money from the UB, and this is one of them, and take that money and put it in the reserve fund for the purpose of carrying that money over into next year's budget. Now, I understand from Councilwoman Hahn that this item represents one of her high priorities, and then yet what my position is that this money that we'll use from the reserve fund will create, at this point in time, because we've already programmed it, will create a hole in the budget. But then at this point in time, it is clearly a policy decision based on this council's priorities, but it would come from the reserve fund. And what I like to do, my preference would be to, at the minimum, because I have another item I've been asked to cost out, and that's a fifth class for the fire department, is that we look at in the context of that request and not in isolation. Because if we look at these things individually, and then they stand on its own very high merits, because I understand sidewalks are very important for the city, but if we do it in the context of other requests, but even more important, in the context of the overall budget that will come out in 3 weeks, I mentioned to others around this horseshoe that when this budget comes out, because of some of the problems we're faced with, some of the shortfalls, there will be other items this council will want to address, will want to, say, restore, and the money you'll use today could be used for other items based on your respective or collective priorities. And so looking at it in the context of the whole versus on an isolated basis would probably be a better tack.
And that's what I think we said to you last week, or at least I said, I wanted to understand that better. So when you say it puts a hole in the budget,
what we've basically done is we're at the point in time, it's March something, 29th. We're at the point in time where we've all but finished the mayor's proposed budget. And what we do is we look at, with our best estimate, how much money we can carry over from this year's budget from the reserve or for unexpended accounts into next year as we try to scope out the mayor's proposed budget. And so right now, we've anticipated a dollar amount that would carry over from this year to next year, which would include this amount. And I know there were some concerns last week when they said, because your council hasn't made a decision yet on this particular item, how could we include that in our scoping? But yet, this item was first presented to the council mid-December of last year. And it wasn't until last week that I heard the strong concerns related to it. But regardless, it is still something. What we try to do is, at a certain point, and this is the point, actually in February or even early March, we'll say, this is how much we think will be in the budget for next year, which includes a carryover from this year's budget and then additional revenues and so on. And we've made that call. We're all but locked down right now for next year's budget.
But during the previous couple months, as I said in Mr. Park's committee, you came to us and said we had to take money from numerous funds to guarantee that we get to zero, because at the point in time a month ago, we were not going to carry anything over to next year's budget. We were worried about being even, which is the first time I know in recollection I have of having anything not carried over into the next year's budget. And you were worried that we wouldn't have not only anything, but we actually might have a shortfall. So we went through a process of consolidating numerous accounts and funds, transferring monies back in. This was part of that transfer, just to make it so we could be whole at the end of the year. Now, you're saying it's going to put a hole in the budget. What are you talking about as far as transfer into next year?
There would not be a hole this year. And what we were trying to do through the course of the year, in anticipation, we've all shared with you that next year on a go-forward basis, at one point in time, we identified a deficit of approximately $300 million. Our responsibility in working with the mayor's office is to present a proposed budget, which will be presented on April 20th, that is balanced. And so there's been a number of actions we've taken through the course of the year that would help us get to that point where we can present a proposed budget that is balanced. And so there was money that we were going to carry over. There's also money, but through the course of the last year, we've had the hard hiring freeze, we've had a freeze on equipment purchases, a freeze on expenses. We've taken money from departments, from expense accounts, from salary accounts, and so on, to the point where we could build up that reserve. We've had departments absorb their own cost of living increases. I mentioned in our financial status report that the fire department, for example, and ITA should be commended for addressing their own deficits without coming to to your council, to the Budget and Finance Committee, and then the council for a supplemental appropriation for those deficits. Whereas we know we're tracking a very significant deficit in the police department. But there's some departments who tightened up their expenditures and addressed their own deficits without that additional appropriation. So as a consequence, we were able to take the money we carved out for that, and we're going to carry that over next year.
What I want to hear from you today is that as we sit now, contrary to your comments to the committee a month ago, there will be something to carry over into next year's budget now, even with this $2.9 million or whatever.
Oh, which is clearly identified in the mid-year report.
That was a yes or no answer.
Yes, there is.
There is. Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. We now have funds, contrary to what we heard a month ago, that there will be a carryover and that we can now expend this money without putting us in a deficit situation.
And I'm going to have to call on Ms. Hahn next after this answer?
We are going to carry over money, but what will happen is that by spending this money, there'll be this dollar amount less that will carry over into next year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Ms. Hahn.
That's okay, I was waiting because I wanted my colleague to get the answer to his question. Colleagues, as you know, I brought this up last week, and it certainly is about us deciding policy in the city. It's certainly about us being fiscally responsible. But as you know, last week I held up that photograph of that 103-year-old woman in Wilmington who fell and had a serious injury to her head on one of our sidewalks that is badly damaged in Wilmington. And as I've also brought up, you know, each year this city, we pay out about $4 million in lawsuits that are directly related to slip and fall issues in the city of Los Angeles. And I used that photograph to make a very graphic point. A lot of people have commented about that. But I used the photograph to make the point that really it's not just about sidewalks. It's clearly about people. It's about this woman who had a little walker and found it very difficult just to walk outside of the beauty parlor where she just got her hair done. It's about my wheelchair-bound pioneer woman that I honored this morning that literally cannot traverse up and down her own street. It's about young parents with babies and strollers who cannot take a walk on their sidewalks in their neighborhood. It's about, I have instances where paramedics have been unable to access the front gate of a person's home to get into their home because the sidewalk was so badly damaged that the gate couldn't even open. So this is really about people. It's about my constituents. It's about your constituents. It's about business owners who find the conditions really pathetic in front of their own businesses. It's about, at the beginning of the year, I went to my constituents along with my neighborhood councils who had come up with priorities of streets that needed to be fixed. And I said, finally, this year, it's your turn. You get to have your sidewalk fixed. They knew the addresses. They knew the sidewalks. I promised them at the beginning of the year that those sidewalks would be fixed. So this is about keeping our word to our constituents. This is about, as I understand, 23 more miles left this year. It's already been budgeted. We promised them. Neighborhood councils have made it a priority. They've already designated the sidewalks that will be fixed. That sidewalk where that woman fell was one of those. It is in the remaining 23 miles. I understand now it's about a little over $2 million that can fix 23 miles of sidewalks. I think we ought to spend that money this year, keep our promise to our constituents, and I know it's not just my priority. I know you all also get hammered out there in your community meetings about our sidewalks, but it's also our neighborhood councils. They think public safety is a priority, but they also think sidewalks is right up there as important as public safety. So I hope, I'm going to make the motion that we keep in there, I think it's 2.2 million is what I've been told, that will fix 23 miles this year. It's not 2.9, it's 2.2, so we can still transfer about $700,000 into the reserve fund. But as we know, the reserve fund is for a rainy day, and we need that, but I think the rainy day is here in terms of people who are walking on our sidewalks. So I hope you'll support me.
Is there a second?
Mr. Villaraigosa and Mr. Labange and a number of other seconds. It is seconded. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think when we look at this issue today, and as we said last week, the Budget Committee was given a direction to try to close that gap of $300 million. And we've gone through a considerable amount of meetings and hearings and discussions with departments to find 170 some odd million for the reserve fund. I think if we look at these issues individually, they will all be important today. Some of the things that are waiting in Budget Committee that all of us will have to make a decision on is there's going to be a package of unfreezes for departments to continue to survive, several $100,000 worth of unfreezes that we've asked the CEO to look at. Many of your projects dealing with Lanny and streetscapes, again, are a necessity in the community, are being lumped together because many of you are asking for fee waivers, several $100,000 worth of fee waivers that would come out of the general fund. We made a commitment as a council to attempt to keep police and fire at their level of July 1st of last year. We are going to be eating into those resources, and what I think is a particular concern today is we don't know what we'll be cutting in next year's budget. because we will take the money today and we won't know until we begin the budget process after April 20th and begin to decide on what we're going to do. We also heard in Housing Committee just recently, Section 108 is going to eliminate about 1,500 vouchers and about 2,000 contracts. When those people end up on the street, they will then come and begin to look at general fund money. Can we continue to fund shelters and the things that we're concerned with? In looking at this as a chair of this committee, what I would recommend is that we take all of this in the context of next year's budget. The reason for the mid-year report is to sweep the accounts, to give you an idea of what we're confronted with, so that as we go into the budget in about 3 weeks, we have the ability to know all the things that we can then plug back into the budget or things that we are not able to resolve this year or next year. So I would hope that we would move forward on the original report and approve it as recommended by the CAO and the unanimous vote of the Budget Committee, so that we can get about the business of being prepared for next year's budget, and that we not deal with items individually so that we are finding the hot button of the day and then find out there's no money for things we think are equally as important during the budget process. So I'd ask that we support the Budget Committee report. If there's sufficient funding during next year's budget process, we certainly can revisit the sidewalks and a variety of other things dealing with streets. When we were briefed recently by the mayor in the budget, we're moving street slurry to a higher level than street repair. We're cutting trees at a year longer than we have now. These are all the kinds of things that are being discussed that will make this budget whole. And I would think that that 2.9 today or 2.2 will be even more important as we go through the 04-05 budget. And so I'd ask that we approve the CAO's report and deal with these individual items in the collective view of the next year's budget.
That's a motion?
We have a motion. Is there a second? Okay.
Second.
Second from Ms. Miskowski. Who is our next speaker? Ms. Miskowski.
I second the motion. I'm not sure that, well, I guess we do need to act on it. Members, Mr. Parks is right. And Mr. Smith, you asked Mr. Fujioka, what does this do? And he said it puts a hole in the budget. Now, basically, I think what you're saying is, okay, I'll face that hole next year as opposed to this year. Because this year, we've got the money. This year we can spend the money, or this year we can put it to next year, where we already know next year is going to be really, really, really tough. And members, this is the second time that in the last couple of weeks where we said we have a budget, we were supposed to keep it whole, keep it on track, conserve, reserve, go forward. And on a one-by-one basis, we said, no, we're going to put money back into the Housing Trust Fund. That's a hole next year. Now we're saying, do this, which is a whole next year. We are sort of like have blinders on. We don't want to look at next year, or we'll say we'll do it next year. By putting this in now, it means even fewer sidewalks that'll get fixed next year. It means maybe even other things that are going to be harder to make choices on, and we won't even know that we have the ability to make the choice because we're spending this money today. The reason we sweep and put that money forward is so that those programs we want to do next year, with the limits that we have, we get to assign those priorities. We don't do it on a one-by-one basis, even though these are important. There's no question. But we are going to see a significant drop-off next year in ability to fund sidewalks, and it's going to be just as bad next year for all those people who want it. And Ms. Hahn, when you talked about, gee, the business people said, look at this thing and they can't get access, the responsibility today, members, for fixing sidewalks lies with the property owner. We have come forward and tried to assist that. We have come forward and put money in good years because our property owners weren't keeping up. But that responsibility is theirs, and where we might see in some neighborhoods and some people of difficult economic means not able to handle that, I understand that. But our businesses not being able to handle it, it is good for their business, it is their responsibility, they should be handling it. I agree with Mr. Parks, and that's why I will vote no on Ms. Hahn's motion, not because there isn't a need. We have many, many, many needs, but our time to address them is when we look at the budget, look at them all together, and make that assessment. Doing this now says, Maybe we won't have more 10th men in the fire department next year. Maybe we won't have all the classes that we want in the police department next year. Maybe we won't have Section 8 replacement money. Maybe we won't have as much in Housing Trust Fund. We don't know what we won't have, but we know we won't have this money to make that decision when we make the decision as a whole, because we're making this today. So you, by doing this, by way of saying this one's important, are not looking at the whole, are not looking the way we should look at it, and that's why I support the recommendation of the CAO and the Budget Committee. We're generally, through the year, we've been good. We're getting to the end of the year now, and I think we're making a lot of decisions that are opening that door, a small crack, a bigger crack. It's the second one now, which is $1 million out. That means next year we start a little bit in the hole, and we know it's going to be a bigger hole anyway than a little bit, and I just don't think this is the way we want to do it. We should face the music today, not put it off to another day.
Thank you, Ms. Miskowski. Our next speaker is Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask Bill a question, if you would, here. Right now, there's money in all the accounts of all the departments. And when it's not spent, when do you reclaim it and put it back in next year's general fund?
There's two ways we address that. Through the course of this year, we've been very, very aggressive in taking money from various accounts on an ongoing basis. What we can't predict will revert naturally at the end of the year. But we've cut the budget at least 3 times. In the latest mid-year report, we recommended transferring $8 million from various accounts to the reserve fund as part of the effort of building up that reserve so we have sufficient money, more than sufficient, to carry over into next year. But what we try to do, see, one of the most difficult things that we do, and I think we, candidly, we do very well with our revenue person, Rex Orloff, is at one point in time, we'll sit down in March and we'll tell you how much revenue you'll have the next year. In this past year, we were within 1/10 of 1% from the point where we predicted the revenue to the point where we closed the books. So Rex does an extraordinary job. But we need to do that for the express purpose of knowing how much to put in the mayor's proposed budget and to tell your council how much you have to spend. So we're constantly scoping out and projecting how much will revert or how much will be in the reserve to carry over into the next year. That's one of our main responsibilities.
One of the questions on sidewalks is a giant one, because I think one of the most horrible calls or letters, as Ms. Hahn showed us one a couple of weeks ago, is when someone trips and falls. And it's 6201.5, 62104 of the LAMC, which regulates sidewalks. And I remember, because I started in the city 30 years ago, when everybody got a notice that their sidewalk was bad, and they fixed it. And then during Richard Nixon's time, the federal government poured a lot of money in to make work programs, and I believe CETA started right in there. And then we started doing sidewalks, and we got out of the business of enforcing it, but of providing by the service, and we've never been able to catch up, and we'll never be able to catch up. In my heart, I'm for sidewalk repair. In my mind, I understand the chair of the finance committee, but sometimes it's my heart that leads me, because I don't want people to trip and bleed on sidewalks. How many people are hired from the hall on this? And how much percentage is hired from the hall? Because if I was in charge of everything, I'd say let's go out and hire some people from the union hall as opposed to hiring full-time employees and try to get the work done through good union work out of a hiring hall.
But there is another issue related to this, and that's the hard hiring freeze. Right now, we'd expect our street services staff to accomplish this task with existing resources, and to the extent they can do it without overtime, but I think there will be some overtime expended.
How many are from the hall?
I couldn't speak to that.
Anybody know? Like 50%, 20%, 2%? 2%.
Okay.
All right, I can
Mr.
sit down,
Labange.
but I just want to stand for sidewalks. Thank you.
The record reflects that. Mr. Reyes.
This is a very tough one. A few weeks back, a lady came up to me, and she had pins in her wrist and her arm, spoke only Spanish, and told me how she found busted her wrist. And I told her, well, you need to call our office, file a report, and see where we go from there. So that is a very real situation. And I think in the areas where you have so many people on the sidewalk, especially in my district, you got, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I got so many people on the sidewalk all the time. And it's a real problem. I just heard you say earlier that if we did tap into this money, we would still have revenue at the end of the year. Is that what I heard?
That's true.
Okay.
But what's real important is, and I understand that this is a priority. I understand that fixing sidewalks is
Please hold
something
my time.
that has, we have a lot of miles to go. And a lot of people in talking to neighborhood councils have told me sidewalks, extremely high priority. All I'm saying is to please put this in context. We have a certain amount of money. When the budget comes out, I guarantee there will be items that you will want to restore, that you will want to fund that are not in the mayor's proposed budget. If you put in the context of the whole, you will look at and say, I have a finite amount of money to move around, and then which items are your greatest priority. In isolation, if I had all the money in the world, I'd say, do the sidewalks, do the streets, and so on. There are some folks, as you talk to neighborhood councils, who will say, I need to cut these trees. These trees are extremely important for a number of reasons. And yet, that will be a challenge in next year's budget. I can go down the list. I'm just saying, if we looked at it in the context of the whole and not in isolation, then we do it. But it's a policy. When the day's over, it's still a policy decision, as the councilwoman's saying. And if you decide to do this, there will be an impact. But like anything, any other policy decision you make, there is an impact.
Right, and so it's the opportunity cost that we're willing to pay at the end of it. So if we have this fund, if we go there, how will it be distributed from district to district?
I can't speak to that.
How will the 2.9 be? Can we have someone from the staff? Because the 2.9 will take us so far.
It's 23 miles, basically, and it's...
Good afternoon, Bill Robertson, Bureau of Street Services. To answer your question, Councilmember Reyes, the original program that we were funded for was 62 miles. As Bill pointed out in the mid-year, there was the recommendation that 31 miles be removed at some point in time. That reduced it to 31 miles. Basically, if you restore the 23 miles, it'll bring each council district up to 3.06 miles of repair.
3.06?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Next speaker is Ms. Group.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Bill, I appreciate, I think you, Fujioka, you've put it in the context. It is a policy decision. And it's every year we have something that comes in the mid-year. This is obviously a tough year. And every year, Budget and Finance looks at the various options, and they make a choice in that committee as to what they'd like to cut or save, et cetera. And every year then it comes to this council for us to be able to debate. That's why we were elected, to decide the priorities. And you present to us, Bill, you and Ron Deaton, the options we have before us. And so I just want to make it clear to everyone that when we have a budget process each year, you come in with mid-year and you say, this is how much money we could give to the reserve, this is where we're taking the money. You made policy, and the Budget Committee made policy decisions by not sweeping other money from other people or cutting other programs. And so all we're doing today is saying we think this is a priority. And yes, it will have impacts on next year, no doubt. But every day that we decide that we're going to, in Personnel Committee, in exempt positions and Budget Committee, that we are going to say, all right, we'll exempt you from the hard hiring freeze. Every day that we give money for another different project is a policy decision, and it affects next year's budget. So what I think what we're hearing from people today is that this is a priority, and yes, we know that it will impact next year's budget, and we have no doubt. It will impact our potential reserve fund and our unappropriated balance, all of those things. And I think the other motion you're referring to, which I think we should support as well, which help us in the future, is the fire department, which I think Cindy, you and Bernard Parks have introduced, which is to allow us to hire have a new class that will reduce the number of overtime that we have. But colleagues, yes, it is a policy decision where we're saying fixing the sidewalks is a priority, and that $2.9 million that we have before us will maybe make that our reserve fund for right now is not going to be at the level that we have. It is creating a hole. But we do this every single year, and we make choices. And we could say that in 3 weeks we're going to have the mayor's budget, so we shouldn't do any of the mid-year. We should just, stop everything. And I think that what we're saying today is we will see the mayor's budget, and we will have several months in which we will be debating that. I don't want to wait for that several months to not repair the sidewalks that we have, that we all approved last year in our budget. We all said it was a priority. And so I appreciate, again, Bill, you giving us the options before us, and the Budget Committee looking at that and making choices. But that's why we also have a full City Council where we are able to give our input. And if any of you watched, I thought of Ms. Hahn last Sunday morning at Meet the Press. It was on early in the morning, where there was our inspector with a huge, cut on his face and lip. And of course, the first question that they asked him was, "What happened?" "I tripped on a sidewalk in Philadelphia." And I thought, how many times do we have people, I don't know if you watched that at all, Cindy, on Sunday. It was not in LA, it was in Philadelphia. But we all have the stories that Ms. Hahn has about the woman that tripped in front of a business, and Mr. Reyes, and so forth. And we do need to look at new things, and we've been working with Mr. Fujioka about also revenue streams, creative ways in which we can repair some of those sidewalks, and we should look at that. But in the interim, we have to be able to provide the services and make a tough choice, and know that that means in a couple of months we're going to have to look at next year's budget on sidewalks, and next year's budget on street cleaning, and next year's budget on tree trimming, and all the other items going to be before us. But I think we talk about promises made and promises kept, and we want to be able to keep the promise to individuals that we're going to repair those sidewalks. And last night, I know I'm a little bit over, but Bill Robertson and I were out in a community that had been waiting 50 years for a solution to the Gentry River, as we call it, down their street. And because we were creative and found some interim steps, they want to have ultimately an ability to have a drainage system there that's going to be able to go into our
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl.
Okay, she's going. So anyways, there are choices that we make. And I think the choice I want to say today is let's fix those sidewalks and then be able to deal with the consequences at a later date as well.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gruhl. Our next speaker is Mr. Smith.
I think it's a very constructive debate we've had here today, and contrary to a few things I think that Councilman Misakowski said, I want to say, we don't have to legally do this, but I think we have to morally do this. It's easy for us to say it's not our problem, but it is. And put it in context, we talk about context, how many millions of dollars do we pay Mr. Fujioka every year for trip and fall lawsuits?
Someone said 4.
4 million, I've heard more. We pay more than we're talking about here today in the trip and fall lawsuits. So we may not have a legal responsibility to fix those. We have a moral responsibility, and certainly our legal responsibility does carry forward on the lawsuits that we have to pay out every year. So we do have a responsibility. There's a lot of things we do around here that we don't have a responsibility. We don't have a responsibility of the homeless. That's the county health department that does. We choose to do it because it's the right thing to do. It's the morally correct thing to do. I can't tell you there's nothing makes our neighborhoods look worse than the things that Bill Robertson goes out and tries to fix. That's our streets and our sidewalks. And if we don't give this man the tools he needs to do his job, then we're giving up on our communities. I don't think we can afford to do that. When I brought this up last week, I was very concerned because I've sat through the committee for weeks and weeks and weeks and heard repeatedly, we don't have the money to get to the end of the year. And now Bill says we do have the money to get to the end of the year. Now we're consolidating a lot of money, we're moving things around, but we're going to end the year with at least enough that we can move this money, pay this money now, do this thing because we choose to do it. But more importantly, next year, in the context of next year's budget, so everybody understands when we talk context, we will not have this extra couple $1 million to fix next year's budget. And let's remember, we've been talking for a year now about the structural problem of the city of LA in our budget. And we are going to confront a very ugly budget. And this will give us that much less money next year or next month to fix next year's ugly budget. So just so you understand that, it's in next year's context, but Mr. Parks, we will be dealing in that context because that's when next year's budget is discussed, and this money is part of that context. So it will be discussed in that proper context. Just so you know today, that's just that much less money that we'll have when we get to that budget next month. So I support this because we do have the money to end the year. It is the thing we have to do. We cannot give up our communities, and I want Bill to go out there and make us all proud.
Thank you. Colleagues, we still have 5 speakers left. We are at our bare minimum now of 10 members, and so in the interest of time, I would ask colleagues to try to keep their comments as brief as possible. Mr. Zine to be followed by Mr. Ludlow, Mr. Parks, Ms. Hahn, and Mr. Reyes.
Is Mr. Labange here? Okay, we'll talk together so we can get it done quick. Okay, I'm just being facetious or funny or whatever. Anyway, broken promises that Wendy mentioned, broken promises. These people have been waiting for a long time to get this done. We've been promising street paving, we've been promising trees. I don't know what the mayor's budget looks like, so I'm sure Mr. Fujioka knows what it looks like. I haven't seen it, I don't think any of my colleagues have seen it, but there's a budget that's somewhere floating around. I'm sure they've got some numbers. And I remember the mayor going to the neighborhood council meetings at the convention center and saying that we want you folks to tell us what the priorities are. Where should we put the money? And I don't know what other districts said, but I know the people in the valley said streets and sidewalks and trees are very important, and public safety. And I don't want to trade sidewalks for firefighters or public safety, but what we do is we tell people we're going to do 62 miles of sidewalks. And then we get the mid-year budget adjustment, and then we come back and say, well, by the way, 31 miles, sorry, you're not going to get it. Wait till next year, whenever. And it's a matter of broken promises that keep on happening. What I find amazing is that we somehow continually find the money to get things done. And a couple days ago, we paid $4 million on a case, which I seriously question and still do. But we're talking about a quality of life for our communities. And I don't know, Bill, why you need to have overtime. We're talking about city employees who receive a decent compensation package and to do it with the employees that we have. I really can't justify overtime for it, but I can see getting it done. And I understand the budget, and we're going to have a deficit, and I've been told my office and our officers are going to be cut 10%, which means a lot of money. But how do we keep breaking promises to the people when we talk about quality of life? And that's what this comes down to, continually breaking promises. And I don't know if it's a mile or 2 miles, whatever I get in my district, there's desperate need. The homeowners didn't plant the trees in the parkways, and the trees in the parkways have uprooted the sidewalks, and we know that's the problem. So we're going to blame the homeowners. We shouldn't blame them. There's a proposal to increase their water rates 18%. There's a higher response time for the police, and now we want to say we're not going to fix your sidewalks. So I think we got to quit breaking promises and do what we promised we're going to do and get it done, but not on overtime, but help those people out who have been very patient, probably more patient than they should be, to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Ludlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, colleagues, in the interest of time, be very brief. When you go door to door, and one of the most fun, enjoyable parts of being a council member is actually going door to door and talking to people, hearing what they want to see done in their neighborhoods. And Bill, you know it. You're the most popular man in some days of the week, and other days of the week you're the least popular. People want their sidewalks fixed in LA. They want their sidewalks fixed. Let's get them fixed. And let me tell you, there are many things that people ask for government to do, and very few of them are they tangible. They don't get a chance to see them, but there is a tangible out there. And when that guy or that woman buys their home, they've got a little piece of the rock. And the one thing they want is the city to do their job to make that rock look a little bit better and to raise the value of that rock. And one way you can raise the value of that rock is by making sure that those stones and concrete right in front of that rock are looking good and they're not imbalanced. So let's fix the sidewalks in LA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ludlow. Mr. Parks.
I'd just like to be a lone contrary voice. But one of the things I think we have to be concerned about...
You're never alone, even when we disagree.
...is that the issue is we talk about broken promises. There are going to be a number of broken promises in next year's budget and maybe even the following year. And so to highlight one item and to say that it's the only one that we're going to keep a promise is not reasonable. And I think that the concern I have most about going forward on this is that we're going to spend money and not know what we're going to cut in behalf of this just a couple of weeks from now. And what we will be cutting are things that all of us will stand up and say they're as equally as important as sidewalks, or maybe even more, now that it's come to our attention. And I think when we were here earlier this year, or last year on the budget, we heard people say that all we need is fire and police, and the rest of the city, we should drop everything else. And we argued about 300 officers in the UB. And these are things that we said through this budget year that we'd be budgeting week by week because we could not expect to have this resource. And that's why we swept the UB earlier, because we didn't have the money. I think as we look forward on this year's budget, we may look to Sacramento as to what they may do to us over the next several months. But what's equally important is what we have to realize is what the federal government may stop doing that we're going to have to assume. And we may want this $2.9 million in 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or a month when we think we found another issue. And so my district is no different from yours. It's one of the oldest areas of the city. Sidewalks are in repair, but the people in the 8th district also need police officers, firefighters. They need to have these other issues and these budget freezes that we're also as a budget cut, because when people aren't there to do the work, you can't get permits and all the other things. So we in effect are cutting the budget and breaking down and ignoring prior promises just by the budget freezes that we have. And so I think it's an issue of looking at what in context we need to do in the budget, because one of our promises to our community is to have a balanced budget that resolves many of the issues that the community think is important. Not one person says, give me sidewalks and nothing else. What they say is they want a balanced budget that covers a variety of issues, and we're going to have to address them as we go forward. So again, I would recommend that we go forward on the Budget Committee's report, because it's the only way that we're going to be able to give the citizens of the City of Los Angeles a real smart view of what we're doing with their money and not deal with individual issues. And I can guarantee you, before the budget is solved for next year, we're going to have a lot of these sidewalk issues, whether they're unfreezes, whether they're dealing with Section 8, a variety of things that people are going to think are just as important that day as anything else in the city. So again, I think we have to, as a body, look at the budget in context and not as individual items.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Ms. Hahn.
I call for the question that we put $2.2 million to fix 23 remaining miles of sidewalks so that we can make the promise that we can uphold the promise.
The question is recalled. We have one speaker left, Mr. Reyes. Do you want? You okay?
Fast, I just wanted to thank Mr. Tom Thomas and the staff for being at the committee meeting last night. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Question's been called, colleagues. If there's no objection, let us open the roll on, well, we have a couple things before us. Why don't we hear what the different ones are?
Goes through. We have the motion by Councilmember Hahn, seconded by Councilmember Villaraigosa, to keep $2.2 million in the street services account for the remaining 23 miles of sidewalk repairs.
Okay, that's all that's before us. Let's open the roll on that. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes, 1 no.
That item is approved. Okay, we have one item left, colleagues. Mr. Villaraigosa, did you want to?
Item 31 was called special by Councilmember Villaraigosa.
Mr. Villaraigosa.
Mr. President, members, if you remember last week, I adjourned in the memory of Jesus Alejandro Hernandez, who was a victim, an innocent victim of a drive-by shooting on March 10th of this year. He was shot to death while a passenger in his uncle's car in the vicinity of Clarence Street and 4th Street in the Hollenbeck area of the city of Los Angeles. And the police department has not identified a suspect. And he was a 20-year-old young man leaving work, as I said last week, on his way home, a routine commute for him, about 100 yards away from a drive-by shooting. He is the cousin of Stephanie Raigosa, the young 4-year-old who was killed, again, an innocent victim of a drive-by shooting. Their family has suffered in a way that none of us, not a one of us around this horseshoe or any one of us in the city could even imagine the pain that this family and this community is going through. Consuelo Valdez, the woman who we honor today, the pioneer with the Pioneer Award, and the women from Dolores Mission have asked, we've agreed to offer a $25,000 reward. And so this motion for the apprehension, the identification, and the conviction of the persons responsible for the death of Jesus Alejandro Hernandez. And I would urge your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa. Let us open the roll on that item. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That reward motion is approved. Thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa. Let's make that forthwith, please. Colleagues, that brings the agenda to close. Our regularly scheduled items. Do we have any housekeeping?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Let us post and refer those.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Garcetti requests to be excused Friday, April 16th and Friday, April 23rd for city business. Meets council policy.
All right, let's excuse them then.
Councilmember Reyes requests to be excused to leave at 11 a.m. on Friday, April 16th for personal business. A motion is required.
Okay, Mr. Smith moves, Ms. Hahn seconds. That is approved.
Councilmember Cardenas requests to be excused to arrive at 11 a.m. on Friday, April 16th for city business. A motion is required.
Okay, Mr. Villaraigosa moves, Mr. Ludlow seconds.
And Councilmember Zine requests to be excused to arrive at 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday, March 30th for city business. Meets council policy.
Ms. Gruhl moves, oh, sorry, that meets council policy. She is...
That clears the desk, Mr. President.
Okay. Colleagues, any announcements? Mr. Labange.
I just want to welcome Kevin and Linda all the way from Harvard out in Boston. They're vacationing this weekend in Los Angeles, and they're going to get married in June. Welcome to Los Angeles.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Any other announcements, Mr. Reyes?
Yes, this is for Councilmember Parks, 8th District. He has two announcements. On Monday, April 5th, at 6 p.m., the Alley Unified School District will hold its second site selection meeting number 2 for South Region High School. At this meeting, Alley USD will review sites suggested by the community and by Alley USD. They will present and discuss the preferred site for the new school project. Meeting will be held at Dorsey High School in the auditorium located at 3537 Farmdale Avenue. Also, Councilor Parks, District 8 would like to announce that on Tuesday, April 6th at 6 p.m., the Alley Unified School District will be hosting its site selection number 2 for a new kindergarten, 8th grade school, South Region K-8 number 2. At this meeting, Alley USD will review criteria used to select potential sites and review sites suggested by the community and by Alley USD. Meeting will be held at the Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary School in the auditorium located at 3989 South Hobart Boulevard, and they are building schools in District 8.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Smith.
Just a reminder for everyone in the council, as well as everyone watching, that next Wednesday night, the 31st, we'll have an off-site city council meeting in Northridge at the St. Nicholas Greek Church and School on the corner of on Plummer and Balboa, and 6:30 p.m. I hope everyone will come out and join us.
Great. We're looking forward to that, Mr. Smith. Another announcement, Mr. Ludlow.
Colleagues, just a reminder that Tuesday night, the LA Police Commission is going to be holding their community evening meeting. This month, it'll be in the 10th Council District at the Crenshaw Auditorium, 4030 Crenshaw Boulevard. That's this Tuesday at 6 p.m. And then tomorrow, I'm encouraging the community to come out for the LA Bridges 2 Gang Intervention Community Cleanup. That'll be at the Wilshire Division LAPD, 8:30 tomorrow morning at the Wilshire LAPD. Come out, let's help clean up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ludlow. If I can ask everybody in council chambers to rise, please, for adjourning motion.
I have an announcement as
Mr.
well.
Villaraigosa, I'm sorry.
As you know, we'll be celebrating Cesar Chavez's birthday. And this year, I'm proud to say that we've moved the Cesar Chavez Walk from the city of Monterey Park to the city of Los Angeles, where it should be. It will begin, the program will begin, and the march at the Plaza Olvera, the birthplace of Los Angeles, the place where the church across the street was the Church of Sanctuary for Immigrants, a place that Cesar Chavez knew very well. We, from the 14th Councilmanic District, are bringing 20 some odd buses of people, and we expect there are going to be thousands of people there. So please join us beginning at 9 o'clock. The actual walk begins at 10. We're very honored that the Plaza Alvera will be the site of this year's walk, and that we'll all be able to celebrate Cesar Chavez's memory and then hopefully engage in some service that day.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Villaraigosa. Looking forward to that. If we can ask everybody please to rise in chambers for adjourning motions, and I'd like to recognize Mr. Villaraigosa to begin them.
Yes, Mr. President, members, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Mariana Martinez, who passed away on March 15th. She was 82 years old. Mariana was a longtime resident and a community activist in El Sereno. She worked for the Los Angeles Unified School District for 35 years. She was active in the El Sereno Neighborhood Council. She's survived by her 3 children, Steve, Dolores, and Michael. She's survived by 6 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. We will all miss her. She was a woman committed to community, someone always there whenever you needed her. We'll miss her dearly.
Thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa. Mr. Ludlow.
Members, I know I've been in and out of the chambers, but I want to ask that we adjourn in memory of the tragic victims of the Madrid tragedy in Spain. I know yesterday at the MTA, Mr. Villaraigosa, Mr. Ludlow, and other members of the MTA, Mr. Hahn and others, Mr. Yaroslavsky, stood, and I checked with our clerk just to make note of this, because as you spoke of the birthplace of Los Angeles, it was the King of Spain who granted the Pueblo, as the history came from our city, and I think it would be appropriate that we all adjourn in memory of the tragic victims of the Madrid bombing and forward that document to our Consul General here in Los Angeles.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ludlow.
Colleagues, I ask that we adjourn in memory of Mildred Jackson Jett. She is the mother of Captain 3 Kyle Jackson, who's the newly installed captain at Southwest Police Department, recently lost his mother. She is also the mother-in-law of Detective 3 Alicea Jackson at South Traffic Division and aunt of clerk typist Bridget Jackson in the Continuing Education Division. She passed away Wednesday, March 17th. Ms. Jackson Jett was also survived by her sons David and Andre, daughters Jackie, Deborah, Stephanie, Lamada, and Audrey, 13 grandchildren, and 15 great-grandchildren. The viewing is tonight, the House of Winston, 9501 South Vermont, or actually during the day today. The services will be tomorrow at Macedonia Baptist Church, 1751 East 114th Street at 10 a.m., and then there'll be an interment immediately following at the Inglewood Park Cemetery in Inglewood. We ask that we adjourn in her memory.
Thank you. And let's add Mr. Reyes, myself, Mr. Labange, and Mr. Villaraigosa to that, as all members. Let's make it. Any other adjourning motions, colleagues? If not, have a good Cesar Chavez Day and a good weekend, and let's call the roll. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. Have a good weekend.